Ayun, recording in progress na tayo. So, ayan. As I've said before, may konti akong binawas na systems na ilalagay ko na lang sa second long exam. So, ngayon, pag-usapan natin ng most of the systems of the body. So, first system that we will discuss, we'll talk about is integumentary system. So, the integumentary system is composed of the integument. So, integument is the protective covering of the body. So it consists of skin, hair, hooves, claws, horns, and feather, and any other external keratinized structures. So what is the function of the integumentary system? Sige. So the first is for physical protection. So yan, tignan ko kung okay. So actually our integument is the first line of defense natin against any foreign invasion. So when I say foreign invasion, that means yung mga bacteria, viruses na gustong pumasok sa katawan natin. So yung first protection talaga natin is the skin. So everywhere around us, may bacteria yan. Ayaw, gusto mo may bacteria sa paligid natin through the dust, through the soil, through your anything in the house actually, unless it is sterilized, sterilized. So di nyo papansin kapag nagka-catch yung tao or animal, doon sila may higher risk of infection kasi that serves as an entry route of pathogens that can cause diseases. So next function of our integument is to prevent dehydration. So our body is composed of many fluids. I think around 60 to 70% fluid tayo. So our integument prevents evaporation of water. So kinikip niya inside yung water kasi kapag wala tayong balat, so imagine niyo expose yung fluid sa kadiri. Imagine niyo expose tayo sa init, so yung fluids natin most likely mag-evaporate. So our skin serves as a covering para kaysa lumabas sa balat, hanggang dun lang, hanggang sa skin lang siya. So next is body temperature regulation. So we sweat through our skin. That aids in cooling off the body. So, kapag nag-exercise tayo, halimbawa, so that's one function of the skin. Next is sensory information via cutaneous receptors. So, of course, sense of touch. So our skin serves as one of our means of sensing things. So particularly through touch. Wait, nanginom lang ako. Next is metabolic actions. Parang same lang siya with dehydration. So ine-excrete ng skin yung mga waste products. So one way of excreting waste products is sinasabay nila sa sweat na nilalabas ng katawan natin. And yun nga, excretion of waste. So parang redundant lang siya konti. So skin. The skin is the largest organ of the body. So it is made up of 3 layers: epidermis, dermis, and the subcutaneous layer or the hypodermis. So in the image, ito yung balat ng pusa. I think ginagawa nila to sa BS Bio. Ito yung requirement ata nila. So tayo hindi naman. Hindi tayo magbabalat. Magbabala ka pero hindi mo yung requirement. So first layer is the epidermis, the outermost layer of the skin. So it is called the avascular layer. So when we say avascular, wala siyang vessels. So vascular. So vascular means madaming vessels. So nalagyan mo ng prefix. So walang layer, walang blood vessels ang skin na to. So if kinat mo to, wala ka muna makukuhang blood. So when you go deeper, dun pa lang magbi-bleed yung animal. So it has 5 layers from inner to outer. So from pinakababa ng epidermis, stratum basale, so base, spinosum, granulosum, lucidum, and corneum. So from the bottom, so stratum basale consists of single layer of cuboidal cells. So next, stratum spinosum, composed of several cells with spine-like processes. So parang may patusok sila. Ayan. So parang hindi siya talaga cuboid shape. May parang projection siya ng konti sa mga cells niya. Next is stratum granulosum, which is from its name itself, may granules. So granular cells ang makikita natin sa granulosum. So L, lucidum, thin clear layer found only in the epidermis of the lips, palms, and so. So sa aso, makikita lang natin ang stratum lucidum sa mga foot pads nila. So stratum corneum naman, ito yung outer. So consists of many layers of keratinized skin cells that are flattened and non-nucleated. So cornified ang structure na to. So kayo, BSGLC. From lowest to outermost. So BSGLC yung acronym, ay yung ginagawa ko sa akin, mnemonics. Pero nasa inyo kung paano yung i-memorize to. So ayan, tandaan nyo, lucidum found only on thick layers of the skin ha. So hindi consistent na meron laging stratum lucidum sa any part of the skin of the body. So next is the dermis. So the layer between the hypodermis and the epidermis and just below the epidermis. So the layer directly deep in the epidermis, it is also called the corium. So it is the layer in which blood vessels start to be found after incision. So when you incise sa epidermis, wala ka pa makikitang blood vessels, di ka pa magdudugo. Pero pag cut mo dyan, a bit lower, a bit deeper, so ayan, makikita na natin mga blood vessels ng animals. So next is the hypodermis. So ito, the subcutaneous layer. So dito tayo nag-inject ng anti-rabies paminsan. So located deep to or under the dermis, it is composed primarily of adipose tissues. So there are fewer blood vessels in the fatty layer beneath the skin than that of the muscle tissue. So fewer blood vessels, so kapag nag-inject ka, fewer instances na magkakaroon ng bleeding. So ayun nga. Another reason bakit tayo nag-i-inject paminsan sa hypodermis is kapag konti yung blood vessels, yung gamot na-absorb mas slowly, meaning mas na-utilize ng katawan ng mas matagal yung inject mo. So, ayan. It makes it an ideal way to administer medications that the body must use slowly over time. So, fats naman, ang dami nating fat storage sa katawan. So, and di ba kapag nag-exercise ka, alam ko huling nababurn yung fat. Unahin muna yung carbs, then proteins, then fat na. So, associated structures. So, aside from skin, the skin itself, makikita natin yung mga glands. Yung hair, fur, wool, feathers, beaks and bills, horns, claws, hooves, and nails. So, isa-isahin natin yan. So, sa glands, one example of a gland in the skin is sebaceous glands or the oil gland. Tama ba itong? Sebaceous gland. So, this gland furnish an oily secretion for lubrication of the skin. So, di ba, some of us have oily skin. So, kasalanan ng sebaceous glands yan. So, they produce sebum, which consists of fatty substance and cell debris. So, apart from the fountain soles, sebaceous glands are found throughout the skin of the body. So, yung palm natin tsaka yung talampakan, sila lang yung part ng skin natin na walang oil gland or sebaceous gland. So, kapag ganito yung itsura ng sebaceous gland. Though drawing lang siya. Pero when you look microscopically, siguro mas ideal to. Yun yung makikita natin. So, right above the hair follicles. So, may nakatouch na sebaceous glands. Next are the sweat glands. So, hindi sila nakatouch sa hair follicle. May separate silang duct. So, they're also called sudoriferous glands. So, sweat glands secrete a watery fluid containing various salts and waste products of metabolism. So, meron tayong different terms when we talk about sweating. So, hydrosis is the production and excretion of sweat. So, normal sweat production, hydrosis. So, kapag nakukulangan na ng release na sweat yung katawan, ang tawag natin dito is anhydrosis. So, possible baka dehydrated ka. Kaya hindi afford ng katawan na mag-excrete pa ng fluids. So, nababawasan yung sweat mo. anhydrosis. Next is excessive sweating or hyperhidrosis. Ayan. Next, hair. So hair covers almost the entire surface of the body of most domestic animals. So kung mapapasin nyo, hairs, madaming hairs yan. Hindi lang siya skin. So may hairs pa rin, may tiny hairs na nakapalibot sa buong katawan ng animals. So some hairs, pwede natin consider silang hair, pero paminsan hindi. Whiskers, mane, switch. So, mane, of course, makikita natin mostly sa mga male lions. So, sa head nila, yun, nakapalibot na big hairs. Tapos yung switch, kung natatandaan nyo pa, yun yung hair sa buntot ng cattle or buffaloes. So, mohair and cashmere naman, of course, yun yung fibrous product ng mga hairs ng mga goats. And, of course, sa sheep, wool ang tawag natin. So, feathers naman. Feathers are the body covering of avian species. So there are two basic types of feathers. Vein feathers, which cover the exterior of the body, and down feathers, which are underneath the vein feathers. So napag-usapan na natin yung down feathers, sila yung diniscuss ko na yung lab sa inyo, no? Yung first lab sa external anatomy of animals. Na-discuss ko na, no? Tama ba? Yung may hack pa ng chicken, pinakita ko yung water.
Yes po.
Okay. So ayun, ano ka na yung down feathers sa inyo. So yung down feathers, sila yung fine, feeling ko ito. Tapos yung vein feathers, sila yung mas malalaking feathers ng avian species natin. So beak or bill. Beaks, yung pointed of course, and just chickens primarily, guinea fowls, quails, and turkeys. So this is the projecting mouth part of these animals. So different ng konti yung mga sa ducks and geese kasi instead of pointed, rounded yung tip ng mga mouth part. So tawag natin doon is bill. So next, comb, projection of the skin, serrated at the top, running from front to back of the skull. So wattle, fleshy appendage hanging from the neck of the birds. Snood. So snood ang tawag natin dito. Extending from the front of the turkey's head over its upper beak. So snood ang tawag natin sa part ng turkey. So horns. Horns are epidermal derivatives bound together into a solid mass by keratin. So na-form sila usually around the horn process or what we call os cornua. So dito sa ilalim. So horns. Claw or hooves naman, horny covering of the distal end of the digit. So when we say digit, wag niyo kalimutan daliri ang digit. So claw, a curved pointed horny nail on each digit of the foot in birds, lizards, and some other mammals. While hooves, mostly naman sa mga ruminants natin makikita yung hooves or herbivores. So the horny part of the foot of an ungulate animal. So next, the skeletal system. So the skeletal system's functions are to support the animal as a storage of minerals, particularly calcium and phosphorus, blood cell production, since sa bone marrow tayo nagproproduce ng blood cells, RBCs. So protection, ayan, one type of protection is our ribs. So pinoprotect nila yung lungs at saka heart in case mayroon blunt object or anything that hits us around the chest area. So unang matatamaan yung ribs, hindi yung organs mo. So leverage for balance. So para parang parang pareho sila yung support tsaka leverage. So tinutulungan yung ng mga bones for better posture and yung leverage para hindi mahulog yung animal. Ano to? Wait lang guys. Okay. Next. So classification of bones. So we have long bones. As their name suggests, long sila. So as compared naman sa mga bones na to na talagang kapag magdadasal na yung animal or kailangan nyo na magbuo ng skeleton, iba talaga yung structure. So irregular bones, those that are do not conform to just one shape or one structure. So I think hip bone, kasama din sa irregular bones. Yung mga vertebra natin, irregular bones din sila. So flat bones, scapula, skull din, flat bones sila. Since one smooth surface na white and sesamoid bones. So isasayin natin mga yan. So long bones. So long bones, this includes bones from the forelimb like the humerus, radius, and ulna. So humerus, radius, ulna. So kapag magko-comparative anatomy kayo, some animals don't have ulna ata, if I'm not mistaken. Some animals fuse yung radius and ulna nila. Some animals may kulang na ridge, may kulang na fossa or something. So kapag comparative anatomy nyo, try to appreciate yung mga difference of each animal externally and internally. Masaya siya. Madami kayong memorize pero masaya siyang i-memorize kapag nandun na kayo. Kapag yung mindset nyo nandun na. So sa forelimb or arms, sa atin arms ang tawag natin, of course. So meron tayong humerus. Tapos next is radius and ulna. So yung humerus mo, yung from the shoulders up to the elbow na bone. Tapos radius and ulna, dalawang bone sa arm mo. So hind limb, so femur is the longest bone of the body. And tibia and fibula. So parang ganito din sila. So next are some other long bones. Wait lang. Ay, nagkamali ako. Edit ko to ha. Wait lang. Ito, short bones dapat to. Edit ko bago ko send sa inyo. So, short bones provide stability and support to the bones that they are connected to. So, tarsus and carpus. So, hindi ito, long bones to. Ito sila. So, ito metacarpal bone na tama to. So, tarsus and carpus. So, when we say tarsus, sila yung sa paa, sa hind limb na makikita. Kapag naman carpus ang tawag natin sa forelimb. So next, ito flat bones. So protection of vital organs and for muscle attachment. So some examples of flat bones dapat to. Scapula, pelvis, ribs, and the sternum. Next, sesamoid bone naman. So sesamoid bones reduce frictions and they make movement easier. So an example of a sesamoid bone is patella. So kapag nagkakaroon na ng problema dito, doon nahihirapan ng mag-move or yung tao. I think kapag arthritis, unang natatamaan yung around this patellar area. One of the natatamaan kaya nagkakaroon na ng nahirapan na kapag nagmo-move kasi masakit kapag nag-grind ito sa bone na to. So, wait lang. Oh, tama. So, irregular bones, so they protect, support, and they serve as attachment of muscles. So, an example of irregular bones, as I've said kanina, mga vertebra natin. So, we have 5 classifications of vertebra. So, CT-LSC. So, ang mnemonic na binigay sa amin ng Doc Geraldine Sanchez is CT life seems corny. CT life seems corny. So, cervical, thoracic, lumbar, sacral, and coccygeal. So, if pagdating nyo ng comparative anatomy, lahat ng mga numbers ng cervical, thoracic, lumbar, sacral, coccygeal bones ng mga animals, memorize nyo. So, generally, all animals usually have 7 cervical vertebra. Thoracic, 13 yung sa aso. C70, 13 L, S3. Tapos lumbar 7 sa aso. Sa sacral bone nila, meron silang 3 sacral bone. Coccygeal, 20 to 23 yung bone sa tail ng mga aso. So, ito. Dito ka mag-start. So, atlas axis. Tapos, another 5 na cervical vertebra. Tapos, after nun, makikita nyo parang iba na yung ano nila. Spine. Spine ang tawag natin. So, mag-iba ng itsura yung projection sa dorsal area ng mga butong to. Tapos, as we go along, hindi na pahaba, pa-rounded na yung mga processes sa labas. So, hindi naman may memorize to kung pinag-explain ko. Ito lang, memorize yun lang. So, coccygeal, yung buntot na area. So, ayan. So, we also have divisions of the skeletal system. So, una is the axial skeleton, appendicular skeleton, and the visceral skeleton. So, ano ba? So, usually, pinag-discuss most of the time are the axial and appendicular skeleton. So, when we say axial, so, from the skull to the spinal cord. So, kasama na rin yung ribs. So, kapag naman appendicular, usually ito yung for movement. So, yung mga arms, tsaka legs ng animal. So, sasayin natin yun. Yeah, extremities. Though, extremities na yung tail. Pero, anyways, ito yung coccygeal. Ito. So, cervical, thoracic, since yung mga vertebra na to around the thoracic area, lumbar, sacral or around the sacrum, and coccygeal, yung tail area, yung coccygeal natin. So axial, skull, ribs, and sternum. So these bones form the central structure of the body. So sa axial skeleton, ito skull, ribs, and sternum. Next are appendicular skeleton. So for limb, ang makikita natin kapag inopen up natin yung shoulder is the scapula. Kapag inopen up natin yung arm, yung humerus. Kapag yung forearm naman, radius and ulna. Kapag inopen up natin yung wrist sa forelimb, carpal ang makikita natin. And kapag naman yung mismong ano niya, mga kamay niya, in our sense kamay natin, so makikita natin metacarpal and the phalanges. So most of the time, kapag mag-aano kayo, mamount na kayo ng skeleton ng animal nyo, paminsan wala siyang phalanges. Wala yung metacarpal tsaka phalanges. Ewan ko sa amin, hindi namin talaga makita yung mga daliri ng animal nung minount na namin, nung hinukay na namin paalis sa gano'n niya, pinaglibingan. So siguro sa inyo, kung ngayon pa lang may namatay na kayong dog or cat or goat or any other animal na malaki-laki, ibalot nyo na ng plastic or sako. Siguro plastic mas maganda. Para pag kailangan nyo na ng bone, kompleto pa rin sila kasi binalot mo siya. Don't expect na mabaho siya, of course. For next, hind limb. No need to memorize any of these labels. So ito lang yung importante. So hind limb, so sa hip, makikita natin yung os coxae. Sa thigh, femur. So the longest bone of the body again. So sa kneecap, makikita natin yung patella. So ito sa sesamoid bone nga, di ba? So leg and shank. So makikita natin yung tibia and fibula. So generally, mas maliit yung fibula kapag nag-open up tayo kapag mag-memorize na yung bone, mas maliit yung fibula. Next is, kapag pes, so makikita natin yung metatarsals and the phalanges. So ito, visceral bones. So visceral bones ang tawag natin kasi hindi naman lahat ng hayo may ganitong bone. So os rostri makikita natin sa swine, os cordis sa bovine, os penis sa kine. So unang mag-type ng saan makikita ang os rostri. May +1 sa next quiz nila. Yeah, hula lang. Ano? Ay, may kompleto? O sige. Wait lang, 1A. Yan. Wait lang. Search ko. Wait lang. O sa Oscar this, sino mahula? Saan natin makikita yung Oscar this sa mga bovine species natin? Any wild guess? So hindi ko na bibigyan ng plus yung os penis kasi yun na mismo. Sa penis mo makikita yung bone na to. So mukhang wala na mga hula. So yun. So ayun, mayroon na pala. So nakuha na Nakuha na nila? So may nauna ng konti. So Osros 3 as commented by Miss Awat. Sige. Wait lang. Lagyan natin ng plus. So nakakuha dun sa Oscar DC ng So Osros 3. Ayan, napiyok pa ako. Osros 3 in the soft tissues of the external nares. Oscordis sa mga ruminants makikita natin at the base of the heart. So ito. Yan. Mali lang siya. Os penis naman sa canine. So within the penis. So ito siya. So ito yung mga bones na for a specific animal lang natin makikita. So most of the animals naman walang bones sa penis nila. Puro muscles yun. So yan. So muscular system naman tayo. So muscular system, function niya is for movement, maintenance of posture, for respiration through the diaphragm, and for generation of heat. So isahin natin. So production of movement, the skeleton gives enough rigidity to a body that skeletal muscles can yank and pull on it, resulting in body movements such as walking, chewing, running, and lifting. So yung skeleton natin, sila yung mag-i-initiate ng movement, and dahil naka-attach yung mga muscles natin sa skeleton, sasama sila kung saan gustong pumunta ng skeleton, kung saan man sila naka-attach na bone. So doon na produce yung movement natin. So, na-maintain naman yung posture kasi yung our muscles generate a constant contractile force that allows us to maintain erect or seated in an erect or seated position. So, very yung natin, muscles, paano ba ang tamang term dito? Very contracted, very contracted mga muscles natin. So, talagang steady sila. Unless you perform a movement, doon pa lang sila mag-flex, doon sila mag-elongate. And one characteristic muscle is bumalik sila sa original shape nila, which is yun nga, merong contractile force. I think discuss ko pa in depth mamaya. So respiration naman, the muscular system automatically drives movement of air into and out of the body through the diaphragm. So kapag magko-contract yung diaphragm, doon ata papasok yung air, and kapag mag-relax na siya, doon lalabas yung air. So generation of heat. So kayo kapag naliligo kayo pag malamig, 'di ba nag-shiver kayo, pati yung jaw nyo nag-shiver. So that's our body's way of generating heat. So contraction of muscle tissue generates heat. So ayan, if our core body temperature falls, we shiver to generate more heat. So, yan yung isang purpose ng muscles natin. So, ito yung sinasabi kong properties. So, excitability, contractility, extensibility, and elasticity. So, excitability, it is the ability of a muscle to respond to a stimulus which may be delivered from a motor neuron or a hormone. So, kapag mayroong signal sa katawan, kayang mag-respond. And halimbawa, hinahabol ka ng aso. So, kapag magsisend sa'yo ng yung stimuli mo, yung fear mo, yung detection of the dog through your eyes, and yung fear na mag-generate. So, yung gagawin ng katawan, of course, is mag-respond to that by running siguro or awayin mo yung aso. Kagatin mo din siya kung kakagatin ka niya. So, contractility naman, ito yung sinasabi ko. Ability of the muscles to forcefully shorten in order to flex, decrease the angle of a joint, your elbow. So, for example, ito. Sorry. Nalito na ako. So, it is the ability of the muscles to forcefully shorten. So, for example, if gusto mong mag-workout, halimbawa, so, need ng elbow mo na mag-contract or i-shorten yung biceps brachii para ma-flex mo yung elbow mo. Gets nyo ba ako? So, in order to flex your elbow, you need to contract the biceps brachii. So, when we say contract, nag-shorten yung angle. Kapag naman finiflex, Oh, wait. When you flex, di ba nag-ano yung joint? Joint pala, sorry. Muscle yung inisip ko nag-increase ng angle. But anyways, so when we contract, merong some muscle na mag-flex naman. So, ganyan yung sa contractility. Extensibility, so ability of a muscle to be stretched. And elasticity, ability to recoil or bounce back to the muscle's original length after being stretched. So, kahit nag-stretch siya, hindi siya mag-stay na stretch forever. So, one ability of the muscle is to recoil or bumalik sa original length niya kahit na-extend na yung muscle mo. So, when we exercise, we try to extend the muscles to stretch them para ma-wear out tapos magre-replace ang stronger muscle. Stronger and bigger muscle. So, yan. So, ito, origin, the attachment at the less movable end of a muscle. So, ito yung origin, ng ng biceps brachii natin. So, naka-attach sila sa scapula. Tapos naman, ang insertion naman, attachment at a more movable end of a muscle. So, ito yung magiging insertion naman. Since mas movable na nga naman yung knee nyo, so ito, hip to. So, mas movable naman yung knee nyo as compared sa sa hips. So, origin sa hip, tapos insertion point sa more movable end, which is the knee. So, sa some anatomy exams, daw kami, isa lang ata or dalawa. Paminsan tinatanong alin yung insertion and origin ng isang muscle. So, madami-daming muscle yan, madami-daming bone. So, kaya nyo ring i-familiarize yan in the near future. So, next, we have different types of muscles. We have skeletal, smooth, and cardiac muscles. So, what's the difference of the three? So, yung skeletal muscle, striated. So, makikita nyo naman, ang dami stripes. Voluntary, meaning tayo nagko-control paano nag-aano yung skeletal muscle natin. Composed of long, unbranched, and multinucleated muscle fiber. So, mapapansin nyo nga, diretso lang sila. Diretso, walang connection in between the fibers. And kung mapapansin nyo, in this one fiber, may more than one nucleus siya. Ito nga, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 nucleus na agad yun nandito, 6. Tapos, straighted sila. So, sa naman, sa smooth muscles naman, mapapansin nyo, nawala na yung stripes as compared dito. Non-straighted, involuntary. So, smooth muscles, most likely, makikita natin sila sa mga internal organs natin. So, found in the walls of hollow internal organs such as blood vessels, the gastrointestinal tract, the bladder, and the uterus. So, hindi rin sila branched. Isang malaking ganito lang. Pero, wala silang striations. And, isa lang yung nucleus nila per strand. So, sa naman, cardiac muscles has one central nucleus like a smooth muscle, but it is also striated like a skeletal muscle. So, parang yung cardiac muscle, combination of both. Yung skeletal, striated sila pero madaming nucleus, and smooth naman, non-striated pero isa lang yung nucleus. So, yung sa cardiac naman, striated na isa lang yung nucleus nila. And mapapansin nyo, branched yung mga cardiac muscles natin. So, ito, meron siyang tatlong kinahantungan itong fiber na to. Isa dito, and isa dito. No? Kung nakikita nyo man siya. And mapapansin nyo talaga, striated. May mga stripe structure sa vessels ay sa mga fiber sa mga heart natin. So they are involuntary, and of course, from its name itself, they are found in the heart. So talking about heart, let's talk about the cardiovascular system. So the components of the cardiovascular systems include the blood, the heart, the blood vessels. So function ng cardiovascular system is of course to transport nutrients. So like oxygen and other simple nutrients na pwedeng utilize agad ng katawan and our cells. So, from the heart, of course, i-oxygenate yung blood. And after nun, ipapasa na sa many network of vessels ng cardiovascular system natin. So, regulation. So, dito na ano yung excretion ng waste. And at the same time, dito din dumadaan yung mga hormones natin in case merong difference, merong mali sa blood chemistry ng animal. So, doon, ito yung main transportation means ng mga hormones natin para mapunta sila sa different organs kung saan sila magte-take effect. And also for protection, so nandito yung mga, when we say blood, of course, nandito yung mga WBC, which is one of our main line of defense when it comes to bacterial diseases. So the blood makes up of 6 to 10% of the total body weight. So kung 1 kilogram yan, meron siyang 100 ml of blood. So the fluid carried by the arteries and veins. So blood is denser and thicker than water. So color. So kapag bright red yung blood natin, that means oxygenated yung dugo. So kapag dark red naman, unoxygenated. So sa mga nakukuha na ng dugo, kapag nagpapatas kayo ng dugo, or kayo kasi siguro na-try nyo ng mag-blood collection sa animals, di ba sa vein tayo kumukuha ng blood. So most of the times, very dark yung blood na nakuha natin. So paminsan almost, masyado na siyang dark nga, paminsan magtataka ka, madumi ba yung dugo ko or what. So unfortunately, there's no blue blood in mammals. So kung mapapansin nyo, titignan mo yung vessels nyo ngayon. Though mukhang blue yung vessels, ano talaga siya, nagiging dark lang yung color ng vessels, ng veins natin dahil sa unoxygenated blood. So nababawasan yung bright color niya. So our blood has two parts. It is composed of cellular and fluid elements. So cellular elements include WBC, platelets, red blood cells. Fluid elements is the plasma. So isa-isahin natin yan. So ito 55% daw plasma, around 45% hematocrit or the RBCs, and meron tayong less than 1%. So those some references, gagawin nilang 44 to, tas ito 1. So nakita ko 1% naman, less than 1% yung buffy coat. So a buffy coat is consists of leukocytes and WBC and platelets. So kapag nag-collect kayo ng blood and you allow time sa blood na yon, bababa yung mga cellular elements nila. So, since mas mabigat nga naman sila as compared sa fluids, bababa yung mga WBC at RBC. So, ayan. Alam ko magkano pa ayan. So, a blood, pupunta, either plasma or formed element or cells. So, the plasma is composed of serum and fibrinogen, while yung elements can be WBC, RBC, and platelets. Kapag naman WBC, meron further classification, which we will discuss mamaya. Granulocytes, agranulocytes, and yan. So, isasahin natin yan mamaya. So, fluid components, the plasma, consists of over 90% water. So, it also contains nutrients, gases, hormones, waste products, electrolytes, and proteins. So it is straw-colored or light yellow and transparent fluid matrix containing fibrin. Centrifuge. So may nagtanong ano daw purpose ng paglalagay ng blood sa machine na iniikot. So tawag natin sa machine na yun is the centrifuge. So actually ito yung magiging end product ng centrifuge. So kailangan natin gawin yon if in some instances, kapag magda-diagnose ka halimbawa, kailangan mo lang plasma. Sa plasma mo makikita yung mga yung mga kasing tawag ko dito, antibodies, yung mga epitopes, tama ba to? Epitopes ba yung antibodies? Paminsan plasma lang yung need mo. So in order to have purely plasma or serum paminsan, purely plasma sample, isi-centrifuge mo muna, ikot-ikot ng mabilis. That centrifuge can have, kung natatandaan ko, last time namin ginamit, 2,400 spins per minute. So, talagang ang magagawin na is, talagang bibilisin niya yung pagbaba ng anything na mas mabigat. Yung mga mabigat, iilalim talaga. So, in this composition, ang pinakamabigat are the erythrocytes. So, bababa talaga yung erythrocytes, maiiwan, masa-separate yung fluid component. So, in case man na kailangan mo erythrocyte, pwede mo nang itapon to since nahiwalay na sila through the centrifuge. So, yan, nag-aid yung centrifuge in isolating the samples that we need na gagamitin natin for diagnosis or any other test methods na gagawin natin. So, yan. So, RBCs naman. RBCs, or we also call them erythrocytes. I think familiar na kayo sa mga blood cells in high school. So, RBCs are the most numerous cells in the blood. They are non-nucleated, wala silang nucleus. So, nakikita na ito, most likely baka parasite. May parasite na sa RBC ito. Biconcave disc shaped cells. So, +1, sino makakasagot? Kaninong RBC to? Sige, hula lang. No, hindi siya cat. Those, sabi ko nga, RBCs are non-nucleated. This particular animal has nucleus in their red blood cells. Nope, hindi rin siya rat, hindi siya dog. Sirit na ba? Ayun, may nakakuha na. Si Laksamana. So, sa mga chicken species natin, makikita natin yung may nucleus, yung RBCs nila. So, in case man, baka sabihin nyo, magkulak kayo ng blood, tapos tinignan nyo yung blood ng chicken sa microscope. But may nucleus to, baka isipin nyo may parasite na sa loob. So, yan, wag kayong magpanik kapag nakita nyo to sa mga chickens. So, cellular component, so, I think familiar kayo dito. If hindi, don't worry, magsasawa din kayo. Sa fisio, talagang you will discuss this in depth. So when we expose blood to different types of solution, merong different types of reaction ang mangyayari. So ito, isosmotic solution. Wait lang, excuse me. So kapag isosmotic solution, yung concentration of salt within the between the cells and the fluid, same. So ang mangyayari, walang mangyayari. Same lang, normal shape pa rin yung RBCs natin. So anong mangyayari kapag halimbawang in-expose mo na sa hyperosmotic solution? So hyperosmotic solution, ibig sabihin, in-expose mo yung blood vessels sa fluid na mas marami yung salt concentration niya sa labas instead of sa loob ng cell. So, kung natatandaan niyo yung principles of osmosis, kung saan mataas yung gradient, yung fluid gradient, doon pupunta yung tubig. So, if mas madami yung salt concentration, ang tendency ng katawan or ng fluid is pupunta sila kung saan mataas yung salt concentration. So, if mas madami yung salt concentration sa labas ng cells, lalabas yung fluid sa cells. So, mangyayari, mag-shrivel up yung mga cells. Liliit sila. Maalis yung fluid sa loob nila. So, hyposmotic solution naman. So, kabaligtaran siya ng hypersmotic. Ibig sabihin dito, konti yung salt concentration sa labas as compared sa loob. So, ang tendency, yung fluid, pupunta sa loob naman ng cells. So, kapag masyado ng madaming fluid sa cells, ang mangyayari is, magsaswell sila and eventually, magbaburst. Nawala na biconcave disc nila. So, purpose ng biconcave disc is, of course, dito nag-a-attach yung oxygen molecules. So, 2 oxygen molecules per RBC ang kayang nilang gawin. So, kapag hyposmotic, kulang yung salt sa labas. So, 'Di ba? Kung saan may salt, doon pupunta yung tubig. Mas madaming salt sa loob ng cells, doon pupunta yung tubig. So, mag-swell siya, magbe-burst. So, guess nyo ba? Or may nalilito kayo? I think na-discuss nyo to sa nyo, Zoo. Or kung hindi man ito. Yan, introduce ko na sa inyo. So, RBCs. So, anemia, RBCs are reduced in number or yung hemoglobin content yung nabawasan. Polycythemia naman, excessive RBCs are found in the blood. So, wait, tingnan natin. Hindi siya. So, paminsan, nagkakaroon tayo ng anemia hindi dahil bawas yung natin, RBCs natin. Nagkakaroon tayo ng, I think that's term relative polycythemia anemia. Paminsan, nababawasan yung RBC natin kapag chinecheck natin yung blood kasi masyado kang maraming fluids na ininom. So, mas madaming concentration ng fluid. Paminsan, yan paminsan. Paminsan, normal naman talaga yung RBCs mo, pero napadami ka lang ng inom ng tubig. Which is same is true sa polycythemia. Paminsan, hindi naman sobrang dami yung RBCs mo. So, ano sa tingin nyo? Paano natin makikita yung polycythemia in a relatively normal patient? Any guess? Kabaligtaran ng anemia yung sinabi ko kanina.
Sa'yo rin po.
Hindi. Kapag nagkula ka sa blood mismo, sa vessels ng tao. Siri na? O yun, si Giacchino. Kulang ng, ayun. Sige, Bray. Sige, try mo. Doon. Bray?
Ano po, sobrang dark red po ng blood kapag sobra po yung RBC.
Okay. So, ang hinahanap ko sa which is nasagot ni is Giacchino is actually kapag kulang ka ng iniinom na tubig, possible na lumitaw na concentrated yung RBC mo. Yun. Which in turn, nagigets ba yung inaano ko? Yung sinasabi ko. So, assuming normal yung RBC mo. Assuming normal yung concentration ng RBC mo sa katawan. Kaso, kinuhanan ka ng blood at that time na dehydrated ka. So when dehydrated ka, ano kasing consistency ng plasma? Wag na, nandito na pala. Fluids, water. So ang mangyayari, though ganito pa rin yung concentration ng RBCs, pero bumawas to. Pero kapag mag-aano ka nun, centrifuge, lilitaw na mas madami, sumobrang dami yung, gumanito yung itsura pag centrifuge mo. So, possible na hindi naman excess yung RBC yung ginawa ng katawan, nakulangan ka lang ng fluids kaya kumonti yung plasma concentration mo. Kaya lumitaw na merong polycythemia yung patient mo. Though of course, that does not work in every case. Pero it's something to look at, no? Baka pagkita nyo pa lang sa blood chem niya or blood chem ba tamang term dito? Blood volume niya sa hematocrit concentration. Hematocrit is RBC. So, baka kala nyo agad anemic na yung animal. Pero yun pala, masyado lang pala pinainom na tubig yung owner bago niya dinala sa'yo. Kaya naging mas madami yung water sa water concentration sa plasma. So, something to think about when you are diagnosing animals. So, another part of the cellular components, of course, are the WBC. So, we also call them as leukocytes. So, WBC generally account for only 1% of the blood volume. So, they are classified into two groups, the granulocytes and the agranulocytes. So, granulocytes, from their name itself, meron silang granules. So, madaming granules. So, basophils, eosinophils, and neutrophils. Agranulocytes, wala or very minimal yung granules na monocytes and lymphocytes. So, terms natin na ginagamit, leukopenia. So, siguro kapag nagpapa-blood test kayo sa mga aso nyong may viral disease, paminsan narinig yung leukopenia, leukocytosis sa mga nila, diagnosis. So, leukopenia, decrease in the number of WBCs. Leukocytosis, increase in the number of WBCs. And leukemia. Nilagay ko na leukemia since sounds like naman and related. Leukemia is a cancer of the early blood forming cells. Most often, leukemia is a cancer of the WBCs. So kayo, well guess, kapag may viral infection, anong nangyari? Leukopenia, leukocytosis, viral infection. Wala.
Leukocyte po.
Leukocytosis.
Sure. Sure. Kung sure kayo sagot nyo, panindigan nyo. Don't worry. Linilito ko lang kayo. Pero actually, anong nangyari kapag viral infection, initially nagkakaroon ng leukopenia. So, bakit? So, usually viruses attack our immune system and viruses are not bacteria in a sense na most of our WBC can only attack bacteria. So, kapag bacterial yung infection, most of the time, leukocytosis ang makikita natin. Kasi, magpo-produce yung katawan ng WBCs to combat those bacteria. Pero kapag virus na, walang effect yung bacteria natin, ay yung mga WBCs natin. Hindi nila kayang patayin yung virus. So, ang mangyari, since gagawing mahina ng virus yung immune system, magkakaroon actually ng decrease in WBC. Magkakaroon ng leukopenia sa virus. So, di ba napapansin nyo, hindi effective ang any antibacterial sa mga viruses kasi hindi sila tatalab. Si ano? Ano? Sino yon? Sino yon? Sino si Jera Benosa? Nakalimutan niya mag-PM. Anyways, ayun. So, ayan. Okay lang yan. So, isa-isayin natin yung mga WBCs natin. So, neutrophils, the most numerous, 50 to 70% of the WBCs. So, since the nucleus consists of 3 to 6 lobes, so our neutrophils are sometimes called polymorphonuclear leukocytes. So, madaming shape yung nucleus. Polymorphonuclear leukocytes. Since 3 to 6 lobes ang pwede natin makita sa neutrophils. So, ayan. Di ba? So, ito, 5. Ito, 4. Ito, 3. Wala akong makita 6. So, yun yung itsura ng mga neutrophils natin under your microscope. They are the first cells to migrate in large to tissues from blood vessels. So, madaming concentration of neutrophils ang pupunta sa mga blood vessels kapag nagkaroon na ng infection doon. So, they are aggressive phagocytes. So, kaya nilang mag-ingest ng 5 to 20 cells or bacteria per sa buong lifetime nila. So, they have a very short lifespan, usually 1 to 2 days lang in tissues, and a half-life or the period where 50% of their population is gone of 6 hours in the circulation. So, in the tissues, meron silang 1 to 2 days to live. Pero kapag nag-circulate na sila, kapag pumunta na sila sa site of infection, 6 hours na lang yung half-life nila. So, kapag yung mga yung nana natin, usually composed sila ng large number of dead and dying neutrophils. So, component ng nana or pus are large numbers of dead and dying neutrophils. So, next, eosinophils. So, eosinophils, 2 to 4% of all leukocytes. So, konti lang sila. They are large, uniformly sized granules that stain orange with acidic dyes. So, if not mistaken, basic yung eosinophils, kaya yung mga acidic dyes na-attract niya. So, eosinophils are phagocytic, pero yung main purpose nila is for inflammatory reactions talaga. So, for example, yung kapag may parasites and allergic reactions. So, yan. Usually naman, eosinophils, kinokorrelate natin sila kapag merong parasitic infection yung tao or yung animal. Mataas yung eosinophil yun na. So, they have a neutralizing effect against histamine. Next, basophils. Mas konti, 0.5 to 1%, double yung percent ko, of leukocytes. So, they contain granules that sustain purplish black in the presence of basic dye. So, ito, nagiging purplish black kapag basic dye yung ine-expose natin sa kanila. So, they release heparin, which prevents blood coagulation and removes fat from blood after a fatty meal. So, same with eosinophils, they are important during an allergic reaction because immunoglobulin E, so for parasites din to, attached to mast cells and basophils. Next, monocytes. So 3 to 8% of all leukocytes. So after leaving the bloodstream, monocytes become macrophages. I think meron akong. Yan. So monocytes are responsive to chemotactic factors, or yung mga chemotactic factors, sila yung factors kapag may inflammation, sila yung nag-a-attract ng mga WBCs para i-combat yun, yung inflammation na yun. So they migrate to inflamed tissues simultaneously with neutrophils. Kaso mas mabagal sila sa neutrophils, kaya neutrophils pa rin ang first to respond. Though sabay silang aalis ng monocytes. Siguro mahina yung piyesa nito, kaya hindi gaano mas mabilis as compared sa neutrophils. So monocytes mature in tissues to become macrophages, which usually takes around 8 hours bago sila maging macrophage. So monocytes are more efficient phagocytes as compared sa neutrophils. Kung sa neutrophils, up to 20 lang kaya nilang ingest na bacteria. Sa monocytes, 100 bacteria ang kaya nila. So they phagocytose even large particulate matter like fibrin and cellular debris. So good ang mga monocytes natin for cleanup ng wound site halimbawa. So in preparation for repair. So monocytes process antigen to be turned over lymphocytes for antibody production. So monocytes can also destroy tumor cells, and they contain digestive enzymes to do that. So lymphocytes naman, so last na to. So last na to sa mga WBC. Account for 25% of WBCs. So if rank natin sila, neutrophils yung pinakamarami, followed by lymphocytes, then monocytes, then eosinophils, then basophils. So they contain a large dark purple staining nucleus, and they produce antibodies, neutralize or fixes toxins, and aid in fat resorption from the intestine. So pasensya na, I think na-overwhelm na kayo ng konti, pero kailangan natin tatapos to. So platelets. So platelets are also called thrombocytes. So they are the smallest of the four components, and of course they are responsible for blood clotting. So paminsan meron tayong nakikitang problem sa platelets. So one problem we can see is thrombus. So the blood clot attached to the interior wall of a vein or artery. So sa sobrang dami ng clotting of the blood, may possibility ma-occlude niya or maharangan niya yung flow of blood. So normal blood flow, tapos kapag meron ng thrombosis, konti na lang yung RBCs na dumadalay. And may tendency, kapag ganun, paminsan, kulang na ng supply ng oxygen yung makuha ng mga cells mo. So, possible na maging problem yun. And next is embolus. Embolus, clot siya na humiwalay. So, kapag thrombus nakadikit sila sa wall, embolus, free-flowing siya. Sumasabay siya sa blood flow. So, ang possible na mangyari dito is ma-occlude din yung blood, magkaroon din ng pwedeng maharangan yung vessels, lalo na kapag itong embolus na to, pumunta siya sa mga smaller vessels like the capillaries. So kapag pumunta siya sa capillaries, of course, masyado siyang malaki, may stop na yung blood flow sa area na yon. So doon possible na magkaroon ng problem. So heart. The heart is an inverted cone shape in most animals, structure located in the mediastinum. So the blood pumps blood around the body, and it is made up of the following 3 layers: epicardium, myocardium, and the endocardium. So atria, the craniodorsal chambers of the heart, caudoventral chambers of the heart. So, ang makapag-discuss ito, by +2. Paano mag-flow yung blood? Sige nga, any volunteers? May gusto bang mag-volunteer? Sige, Miss Carion.
Try lang po, based
Go.
from memory lang po. So, yung blood manggagaling po from the superior vena cava and inferior vena cava. Tapos, papasok po sa right atrium, then left ventricle, tapos dadaan po dun sa pulmonary artery, papunta sa lungs, and then papasok po sa pulmonary veins from the lungs, papasok sa left atrium. Oxygenated na po yung blood nun dito. Then, papasok po siya sa left ventricle and yung left ventricle, ipapump niya po sa aorta, papunta po sa body po. Yung papasok po pala na blood from the superior vena cava and inferior vena cava, deoxygenated blood na sila and ma-oxygenate lang po sila pag nakapasok na po sila dun sa lungs and dun po mangyayari yung process of exchange po ng oxygen po.
Yes. So, ayun. So, alam ko kasi diniscuss sa inyo ata to ni Doc Sara. So, pinaano ko na, kung tandaan niyo pa. Doon nakasulat. Pero ayun. So, oxygenated blood from the vena cavas, pupunta ganun, na-discuss naman ni Ms. Carion. So, ang unique sa mga ano na to is, the pulmonary artery is the only artery in the body in which unoxygenated blood yung laman nila. And yung pulmonary veins, vice versa, the only vein in the body kung saan oxygenated yung laman nilang blood. So, yun. So, meron tayong some abnormalities na pwede makita sa blood. So, kapag abnormally slow yung heartbeat ng animal, tawag natin dyan is bradycardia. Kapag naman masyadong mabilis, tachycardia. And kapag wala ng heartbeat, of course, deads na, arrhythmia. O paminsan, kapag kapag nagkakaroon na ng arrhythmia sa animal, there's a high possibility na mamatay na siya soon. Kasi nga, no heartbeat or very abnormal na yung heart niya. So circulation, the blood vascular system is divided into 3 circulations: pulmonary, systemic, and portal to. So systemic circulation, the movement of blood from the heart via the arteries to the periphery and back to the heart via the veins. So from the heart to all parts of the body, back to the heart. So yun yung systemic circulation natin. So from heart to all systems, papunta sa heart ulit. Next is pulmonary. Dito na involve yung lungs. Movement of blood from the heart to the lungs and back to the heart. And last, portal circulation, movement of blood from the gut area. Ito yung mga blood vessels na nagko-collect ng blood pabalik sa heart. And ito yung base ng inferior vena cava, tapos ito na yung connection. So, circulation of blood from the heart to the gut area, back to the heart. So we have 5 main types of blood vessels: arteries, arterioles, capillaries, venules, and vein. So arteries, they are elastic vessels that transport blood away from the heart. Since kailangan nilang i-transport yung oxygenated blood papunta sa organs, yung vessels naman papunta sa heart yung blood kasi wala na silang oxygen and kailangan nilang ma-replenish, mabigyan ng oxygen through the connection of heart and lungs. And capillaries, the smallest, thin and narrow, they connect veins and arteries. So, to be continued. Pero ngayon pa rin yung to be continued natin. So, break muna tayo. So, pagkilala ko na lang si Sasha, si Marshall, si Sherb sa Animal Crossing Island ko. Kung naglalaro kayo, I can visit yours or you can visit mine. So, break muna tayo. Ilang minutes? 10? So, kita-kita tayo at 2:36, no?
Sorry po, nakatulog.
Okay, it's 2:36 na. So, any questions? First few systems natin na pinag-usapan. So, kung saan may tanong kayo, you can chat na lang para we can answer them naman. So, next system is the respiratory system. So the function of the respiratory system is, of course, to allow respiration of animals. So when you say respiration, that is taking in and transporting oxygen throughout the body and removing carbon dioxide out of the body. So the respiratory system consists of the nostrils, nasal cavity, pharynx, larynx, trachea, bronchi, and the lungs. So breathing may start in the nasal or oral cavity. So same lang naman yung destination kahit sa mouth ka mag-inhale. Pero ang problema doon, of course, baka sumaba yung laway mo and dumaretso siya sa trachea, di ko alam yung Tagalog ng sasanipan. Mabubulunan ka. Okay. So the pharynx will then serve as a common passageway for the respiratory and the digestive tract. So ang mangyayari nun is para pumasok yung air sa sa larynx or sa voice box. So mag-open up yung epiglottis. So kapag kumakain ka, isasara na yung ng katawan yung epiglottis para yung pagkain mo hindi dumaretso sa trachea at dadaretso sa esophagus. So, ayan. So after going down through the larynx, the air will go down to the trachea. So kapag nasa trachea na siya, it will branch out into two bronchi, and each bronchi will lead to a lung. So yung mga bronchi na yun mag-break down into bronchioles, and finally mag-break down yung bronchioles nito into smaller alveoli. Doon din yung makikita yung alveoli dito. Pero small siya. Alam ko meron ako na picture. So each alveoli is surrounded by capillaries. So we have two phases of respiration. So the first phase of respiration is the external respiration. So external pa lang. So movement of air from the environment to the lungs. So kukuha ka ng air from your external or environment, so surroundings, papunta sa lungs mo. So the passage of oxygen from lungs to the blood and the passage of carbon dioxide from blood to the lungs. So internal respiration naman, it is concerned with the utilization of oxygen and production of carbon dioxide by cells. And internal respiration is often also referred to as cellular respiration. So between blood and the cell mismo. So we have, kung ninyo mga phases, ito naman yung types of respiration. So first is costal or thoracic respiration and abdominal or diaphragmatic respiration. So ito yung, dito ako mako-confirm kung tama yung sinabi ko. So pag nag-inhale tayo, ang mangyayari is yung diaphragm magko-contract. So liliitan niya yung niya para magiging tense yung mga muscles niya ng diaphragm. Ito yung diaphragm, yung line na to. So kapag yung diaphragm nag-contract, yung stomach natin mag-expand. 'Di ba kapag nag-inhale tayo, lumalapad yung stomach natin. No? So try nyo man ngayon. So when we inhale, our diaphragm contracts and our stomach expands. So, yung lungs, of course, lalaki kung natitignan nyo sa image kasi yung air pumapasok na. So, pag mag-exhale na tayo, ang mangyayari is yung diaphragm natin, magre-relax naman siya. So, kapag nag-relax, of course, babalik sa original shape and yung stomach natin, liliit. Tinatry nyo pa ngayon, exhale. So, Kapag nag-exhale ka, liliit yung stomach mo and yung diaphragm mo sa loob, of course, you can't see your diaphragm, magre-relax siya. So, liliit yung surface area and mapipilitang lumabas yung carbon, excuse me, mapipilitang lumabas yung carbon dioxide sa passageway mo. So, we have different types of respiration. So, eupnea is the normal, quiet respiration. So, di ba, normally, you can't hear. Di mo man napapansin na humihinga ka. Basta humihinga ka na kasi it is an involuntary action. So, kapag nag-focus ka sa hinga mo, dun ka magiging conscious sa sound and sa frequency kung gaano kabilis ka huminga. So, hyperpnea ang tawag natin kapag nagkakaroon ng increase in depth or rest of breathing or both. Apnea naman kapag kapag hindi ka na humihinga. Dyspnea kapag nahihirapan kang huminga, and polypnea naman ang tawag natin kapag rapid, shallow breathing ang nangyari. So usually polypnea sa mga nagpa-panic attack, no? So nagkaroon sila ng rapid, shallow breathing. So hyperpnea, malalim lagi yung hininga mo. So nervous system na tayo. Wait lang. Parang mali yung numbering mo. Mamaya, verify ko to. So the nervous system's function is to coordinate and control the activities of the body. So it involves the movement of the muscles. It has a metabolic activity and it controls the general senses. So the nervous system is a means of communication within the body. So it receives information from parts of the body and sends messages back to the muscles and organs. So the nervous system is divided into a central nervous system and a peripheral nervous system. So when we say central nervous system, it is considered as the master control center of the whole system. So it consists of brain and the spinal cord. So the brain is divided into three main sections: the cerebrum, cerebellum, and the medulla oblongata, or the brain stem. Ay, Diyos ko, ba't ang pixelated? Hindi yan pixelated sa ano. Anyways, readable naman. No? So yung cerebrum, it is concerned with touch, vision, hearing, speech, reasoning, emotions, learning, and fine control moments. Meron pa ako isang slide for this, don't worry. So cerebellum, mostly yung cerebellum is for movement, for coordination of bodily movements to maintain a good posture and balance. So yung brainstem naman natin, relay center connecting the cerebrum and cerebellum to the spinal cord. So alam ko next slide meron mas detail. So yung cerebrum natin is the largest part of the brain. Its right side controls the left side of the body and vice versa. And the highest level and most complex activities and decisions are controlled by the cerebrum. Since siya yung largest, most likely siya nga yung may mas malaking scope ng pwedeng gawin, and most likely siya yung mas may importanteng function sa brain. So, yung cerebellum naman, so located posterior or below the cerebrum. So when cross-sectioned, it presents the tree of life or arbor vitae. So mukha siyang tree pag binaligtad mo, no? So ito yung mga leaves. So tinatawag din siyang tree of life kapag cross-section natin yung cerebellum. So it is the center of the nerve coordination. So coordination of the body. Next is the brainstem. So connecting link between the spinal cord and the brain. So the brain and the spinal cord are surrounded by membranes called the meninges. So pwede siyang dura mater, arachnoid, then pia mater. So kapag nagkakaroon ng matinding infection around the brain area, meningitis paminsan tawag natin. So actually nagkakaroon ng infection sa mga membranes na nagsusurround sa brain and spinal cord natin. So yung pinakaloob, yung closest to the brain is the pia mater, followed by the arachnoid, and yung outermost is the dura mater. So PNS naman tayo. Kung mapapansin nyo, hindi tayo ganun ka-in-depth sa mga systems since introduction lang. So PNS is composed of nerves leading to and from the spinal cord and the brain. So all the nervous structures outside the brain and spinal cord are part of the peripheral nervous system. So of course, madami tayong nerves from our extremities, from our hand, forearm, to our shoulder, to our feet, legs, to our thigh areas. So lahat yan, part na sila ng peripheral nervous system. So the peripheral nervous system is composed of motor nerves and sensory nerves. So motor nerves, they conduct impulses from the CNS to the muscle glands in the body, muscle and glands in the body. So motor nerves away from the CNS, sensory nerves towards the CNS yung ng impulses, yung way of ng impulses. So sensory nerves naman, yung impulses from the organs papunta naman sa CNS. So, ayan. Anyone wanna try without searching? Oh, to touch and feel. So happy. So, that's our ano. Anyone wanna try? Sinong malakas ang loob mag-try ng 12 cranial nerves? Na-discuss na ba sa inyo to? Baka hindi pala, kaya na-discuss na ba mga cranial nerves? Di pa, sayang. So if napapansin niyo, kung napapansin niyo kaming mga matatanda na sa bed, kami sa sinishare nila to, so forgive my terms ha, pero ito yung common na terms. To touch and feel virgin girl's vagina, so happy. Yun yung tinuturo sa aming mnemonics ha. So ako, one way of memorizing alin yung naunang O. So mag-start ka sa since walang plasto. Yan. Olfactory, optic, oculomotor. So mag-umpisa ka sa ilalim ng mukha mo. So from the nose to the eyes to the brain. Tapos trochlear and trigeminal. So kayong bahala pa nyo nung yun to. Paano nyo i-memorize yung right number of cranial nerve to what siya, kung anong klase siya. So ako, hindi ako naliligaw sa trigeminal kasi may kaklase akong gem. Tapos 5 silang magkakapatid. So alam kong pang 5 yung trigeminal. So kayo, ewan ko sa inyo paano nyo may memorize to. Pero I will include this sa future exams nyo. So olfactory, optic, oculomotor, trochlear, trigeminal, abducens, facial, vestibulocochlear, glossopharyngeal, vagus, spinal accessory, and hypoglossal. So of course, olfactory from the smelling, optic sa eyes. I think oculomotor, trochlear, trigeminal, around the eyes din sila. Though hindi ganun hindi ganun din-discuss yung mga function nila. Usually tinatanong ano yung cranial nerve. Pang ilang cranial nerve yung vagus, halimbawa tatanong sa'yo. Tapos ikaw na magbilang, ng mnemonics mo, paano siya mag-work. So, multiple choice lahat ng exam natin. Hanggat hindi tayo nagka-face-to-face or naisipan kung mag-one-on-one tayo sa Zoom, multiple choice tayo. Wait lang. Okay, anyway, sorry. So, na-try ko yung lab exam ng mga student ko for radiology and ultrasonography. Nag-one-on-one kami for the cases. So, masyado kayo marami and I think madaling gawin naman yung lab exam niyo. And wala naman tayong case studies. So, most likely zip grade din. Pero pag face-to-face na, of course, kung maging instructor nyo man ako pag 4th year or 5th year na kayo, kung yun pa rin yung mga subjects ko, expect na enumeration, paminsan essay, paminsan identification. Pero ngayon, zip grade lahat tayo. So, yeah. So, na-discuss na to. So, ayan, peripheral nervous system. Kailangan kong edit mga PowerPoint. So, the autonomic nervous system is responsible for controlling functions of the body which cannot be controlled voluntarily. So, from the term itself, autonomic, so, hindi voluntary yung mga functions. So, yung mismong katawan na, siya yun ang bahala. So, wait lang. So, sa peripheral nerve, so autonomic nervous system, under yung parasympathetic and sympathetic. So, sige, wag niyo muna siguro sa quiz hindi ito kasama, no? Hindi ko sasama to sa quiz, pero sa exam baka isama ko sila. So, usually naman, kapag rest and digest naman, so parasympathetic rest and digest, so most likely makikita nyo increased function sa digestive system, makikita nyo increased gastric acid production since nakarest ka sa parasympathetic, nakapahinga yung heart mo, decreased heart rate, calm, normal breathing, and since digest nga, mas na-stimulate yung digestive system mo, mas nag-increase yung production of saliva. No? So, you can correlate rest and digest and fight or flight sa parasympathetic and sympathetic respectively. So, lagi ako nalilito sa sa pupils. So, sa parasympathetic, nagko-constrict daw yung pupil mo, and sa sympathetic, nagdadilate yung pupil mo. Dito ako nalilito. At saka sa dito. Ito daw, kapag parasympathetic, erect tissue and arousal. Pero pag sympathetic, nagkaroon na ng orgasm. Dito ako nalilito. Ayan. So, let's talk about them. The sympathetic system, fight or flight reactions. So, kapag may magnanakaw and yung option mo, of course, it's away nyo magnanakaw, tumakbo ka. So, gumagana yung sympathetic system mo nun. So, yung paminsan kapag emergency, paminsan yung katawan mo, parang iyaano niya yung limit niya. Itataasan niya yung limit ng katawan, meaning mas kayang gawin ng tao yung some things na dati hindi niya nagawa. Paminsan, halimbawa, nasusunugan kayo, di mo kalaing kaya mo ng buhat yung ref nyo. Nasa sunog. Yeah, adrenaline rush. So, yan. Dito yung sympathetic system. So, parasympathetic, nakarest ka na dyan. Chill-chill lang. Parang ngayon, yung isa, may nakatulog daw sa inyo. So, gumana yung parasympathetic system niya. Nag-rest and digest siya. So, yan. Digestive system naman tayo. Speaking of digest. So, the function of the digestive system is to digest, break down food, and absorb them for the utilization of the body. So, overall functions include ingestion, mastication, grinding, digestion, absorption, and excretion. Oh my gosh. Wait. Binaligtad ko pa kasi yung picture, di ko napansin na baligtad yung label. So, pero esophagus, rectum, colon, small intestine, cecum. Sorry guys. Gusto ko nakaharap yung kabaya pero bumaligtad pala yung text. Di ko napansin agad. Naka-zoom out sigurado nung ginagawa ko to. So, anyways, mouth. Edit ko naman. Don't worry. Mouth is the beginning of the digestive system. So, it includes the lips, tongue, teeth, and the salivary glands. So, it is responsible for the breakdown of food materials and serves as a prehensile or the grasping organ and a defensive and offensive weapon. So, sa mouth pa lang, nag-start na ng konti yung breakdown of food materials. From the saliva, so, di ba may amylation saliva, binibreakdown na ng konti yung sugar sa katawan, and pwedeng yung tuka ng chicken, pang breakdown niya ng food into smaller pieces, ganun. So, the pharynx naman, it is a funnel shape, musculomembranous organ in which food and air commonly passes. So, esophagus, ito yung pharynx niyan. So, esophagus, so ito yung trachea, no? Ito yung epiglottis na nagsasara kapag kumakain ka ng food. So, esophagus is a musculomembranous tube extending from the pharynx to the stomach. So, stomach naman, it is a hollow, pear-shaped muscular digestive organ. So, in this organ, we store we store food, yung mga nakain nating food. So we have two types, simple and compound. So simple stomach sa mga monogastric animals like dogs, cats, horses, pigs, ano pa ba? Tayong tao. So chimpanzees, monkeys. So simple stomachs na meron sila. So compound stomachs makikita natin sa mga ruminant animals. So yan, the simple stomach is divided into cardia, fundus, and pylorus. So it is located just behind the left side of the diaphragm. So mag-uumpisa siya sa cardia. So from the esophagus, ito yung entrance ng stomach. Papasok yung pagkain, pupunta siya sa fundus or the body. Tapos kung mapapansin nyo, yung ridges ng fundus at saka ng lower part, ibang-iba. Mas ridge. I'm sorry, I don't know the term for this ganito. Pero sa fundus, mas madami siya as compared sa lower part of the stomach. So that is divided by a line which we call the margo plicatus. So parang dito din, ito yung margo plicatus natin. So ayan. Tapos yung pylorus natin, pyloric area, it is the terminal area or last area ng stomach natin bago siya pumunta sa diaphragm. Diaphragm. No. The small intestine. So sa compound stomach naman natin, sa mga ruminants like cattle, buffalo, sheep, and goat, so meron silang 4 compartments ng stomach. One stomach with 4 compartments. So the first compartment, katuglong ng esophagus, is the rumen. So it is also called the pouch. It is the largest part and serves as the fermentation vat. So dito na ferment yung mga kinakaing grass ng ruminants natin. So sa rumen, doon madaming bacteria na kayang i-utilize yung mga fiber ng mga kinakain ng ruminants into volatile fatty acids. So yung volatile fatty acids, yung ginagamit ng ruminants as a source of energy. So rumen is also the organ of maceration, and it is the site of bacterial digestion and organ of absorption. So mukha siyang tuwalya. Kung mapapansin nyo, kung kumakain na kayo ng tuwalya, so rumen siya. Yun yung part ng cattle na kinain nyo, rumen. So next is the reticulum. So we also call honeycomb due to its appearance. So, sa kare-kare. Di ako kumakain ng tuwalya, pero I think gustong-gusto ng mga tao, yung iba pinagpupulutan nila, di ba? So, nasa you eat what you like. So, yung reticulum, honeycomb, the most anterior. So, when we say anterior, the closest to the head, above, versus the head, and the smallest. So, imagine nyo, ito yung ulo ng cattle niyan, since ito yung esophagus. Sige. Kung sakali, kung paloba na and you can't charge, okay lang. May recording naman. So, the reticulum is actually, kung mapapansin nyo nga naman, the smallest section of the compound stomach. So, it receives heavy matter in food and acts as a liquid reservoir to soften these materials. So, sa honeycomb, usually doon natin na-encounter yung hardware disease. So, when we say hardware disease, kapag titignan mo sa x-ray or open up mo, dito usually na-stock yung mga hardware, yung mga pako, yung mga metallic objects, dito na-stock. Dito natin sila usually nakukuha sa reticulum. So, and paminsan, pwedeng yung since malapit siya sa heart yung reticulum, pwede niyang yung pako, halimbawa, pwede niyang ma-puncture yung reticulum and matamaan niya yung heart. So, may mga cases na ganun sa hardware disease. So, next is the omasum. Para siyang, tawag natin dito is many page or many plies. So para siyang madaming pages. So spherical organ filled with muscular laminae. So this laminae is studded with short, blunt papillae that grind roughage before it enters the abomasum. So parang siyang Morocco leather appearance. Alam niyo yung Morocco leather, no? So kung mag-zoom kayo, kung mag-zoom kayo, parang ganun yung itsura niya. So madami siyang laminae. Laminae yung tawag natin doon. So ulit, rumen, tuwalya, reticulum honeycomb, omasum, pages of book, and the abomasum or the true stomach. So kagaya na siya ng fundus, no, kanina. So the abomasum or the true stomach secretes gastric enzyme called pepsin and hydrochloric acid. So sa small intestine naman tayo. So kung tatanong ko kayo, una yung rumen, reticulum, omasum, abomasum, ano yung stomach na kagaya ng stomach ng monogastric animals, abomasum ang tawag natin. And depende, anong most posterior, anong smallest, anong largest, depende sa trip kung matanong. So, ayan. So, small intestine, meron siyang 3 parts. I think familiar nyo kasi 3 parts na to. Duodenum, jejunum, and ileum. So, mag-start tayo sa duodenum. So, duodenum is a fixed part of the small intestine and is closely attached to the stomach. So, sa duodenum, doon natin makikita naka-attach yung pancreas. Though wala siya sa image na to. So, next is the jejunum. So, the longest part of the small intestine, as you can see naman, napakalawak. So, yung bandang dulong part na ito pa lang yung ileum. So, sa jejunum, dito na-absorb yung nutrients natin sa jejunal area. So, ileum, parang wala siyang anong function, pero siya yung connection, of course, ng small intestine sa large intestine. So, the large intestine extends from the termination of the ileum to the anus. So, cecum, we also call it cul-de-sac. It's situated between the ileum and the great colon. So, cul-de-sac, kapag neighborhood siya, yun yung dulong road. Dulo siyang road. So, at parang dito rin, siya yung dulo. Parang wala siyang next connection, parang pang-U-turn na lang siya. So, it is the first segment. So, from the ileum, ito yung connection ng small intestine. Papunta siya sa cecum. So, first segment of the large intestine, it is a blind pouch, comma shape. It lies to the right of the median plane. So, functional among pseudoruminants as site of microbial digestion. Since pseudoruminants, ano yung mga pseudoruminants nga? Any guesses? Though wala ng plus. Madami ng plus today. Any guesses ano yung mga pseudoruminants natin? So, some of our pseudoruminants include horses and rabbits. So, they are hindgut fermenters, meaning dulo ng gut, which is the cecum, dun sila na-ferment. Since wala silang forestomach, walang rumen kung saan may bacterial fermentation of roughages or high fibrous diet, sa cecum yung gumagana. Yun yung nagiging site of microbial digestion. So, the largest intestine extends from the termination of the ileum towards the anus. So, yung colon differs from the small intestine in that it is larger, though not longer, sacculated, and has longitudinal bands. And usually mas fixed yung position ng colon natin. So it is the site of putrefaction and fermentation. Next, the rectum, yung bandang dulo, terminal part of the intestine. Intestine, guys, So it is the organ of storage for wastes. So ako guys, rectum. Yan. So, iba siya ng konti sa anus. Since yung rectum, dulo lang ng small intestine. Pero yung dulo ng gastrointestinal tract, it's actually the anus. So, dito na lumalabas yung poop ng mga animals. So, we have different accessory glands. So, hindi sila Accessory glands in a sense na hindi sila nakakonekta sa actual digestion and absorption, pero they aid for that to progress smoothly. So, some accessory glands include pancreas. So, ito yung duodenum na sinasabi kong nakikita natin yung pancreas. Pancreas, the liver, the gallbladder, and of course, wala dito, salivary glands sa mouth. So, the pancreas, it is the gland found in the first lobe of the duodenum. It produces sodium bicarbonate and digestive enzymes. So, this is the exocrine function. Lipase to digest fats, amylase to digest carbohydrates, and chymotrypsin and trypsin for digesting proteins. So, yun yung release ng pancreas for digestion. Next is the liver. So, the largest gland in the body. So, pero yung largest organ in the body is the skin, of course. So, the function of the liver is as a storage and formation of glycogen. So, secretion of bile, detoxification of poisons. So, kapag lagi kayong umiinom, yung liver nyo, isa sa mga natatamaan. And kung makikita nyo, sinisecrete niya yung bile. So, wag kayong, though yung gallbladder, madami siyang bile, hindi siya yung gumagawa ng bile. Yung gallbladder storage site lang siya ng bile. Yung bile pang breakdown ng fats yan, guys. So, yung gumagawa talaga is the liver actually. Wait, sorry. Kung narinig niyo yung pusa ako, sorry. Gustong pumasok sa kwarto. So, ayun. Next is breakdown of uric acid, formation of urea, and the saturation of the fatty acids. So, the gallbladder, it is a storage place of bile, and some animals don't have gallbladder. So, kung magdadisya kayo, tapos magtataka kayo, ba't walang gallbladder to? Baka wala talaga siyang gallbladder. So, these animals include horses, deers, elks, moose, elephants, giraffes, rhinoceros, camels, tapirs, rats, and mice. So, walang gallbladder yung mga animals na to. Wala silang storage area of bile, pero may bile pa rin sila naman. So, the salivary glands are exocrine glands that produce saliva through a system of ducts. So, humans have 3 paired major salivary glands, parotid, submandibular, and sublingual. Parang, alam ko may zygomatic yung dogs, kaya nag-iba ko dyan. So, as well as hundreds of minor salivary glands. nasa bintana ko ngayon po sa mamaya. Alisin. So, the digestive system, sa avian, nag-iba ng konti. So, first, beak, of course, walang mouth, ay wala silang teeth, so beak yung pamalit. Beak adapted for rapid picking up of small particles of feeds and for breakdown of feeds then. Yung esophagus naman, passage of feed with a large part called the crop. So kung mapapansin yung boxy ng manok o yung any avian species, so usually kapag well-fed yung animal, malaki yung crop nila. So kung may manok man kayo, tapos yung bandang sa breast area nila, yun yung crop, yun naka-enlarge. Though may isa sa mga 1C, dissect sila, walang crop yung manok nila, possible na matagal nang hindi ganoon karami yung pinapakain sa kanya. Kaya hindi gaanong yung crop enlarge. So functions of the crop include storage site of ingesta and moistening them. It also allows the breakdown reaction of salivary amylase as well as fermenting the food inside. So, proventriculus naman tayo is the site of gastric juice production. So, when we say gastric juice production, pwede yung hydrochloric acid and pepsin. So, proventriculus siya yung before the gizzard. Next is the gizzard itself. So, the gizzard or parang yung proventriculus siya yung stomach, yung true stomach. No? Kasi siya yung nag-release ng gastric acid. So, next is gizzard or ventriculus. The gizzard is a thick muscular walled muscle acting to physically reduce particle size of the ingesta. So, kung nangatay na kayo ng manok and inopen niya yung ano kasi yung Tagalog nito?
Balon-balunan po yata.
Balon-balunan ba? Basta yung circle na dark brown na matigas-tigas ang konti. So, if inopen niyo yun, paminsan may mapapansin kayong may bato-bato siya. So actually, lalo na kapag free-range yung chicken, kumakain talaga sila ng bato. So, yung mga maliliit na bato na, hindi naman yung bato ni Darna. So, ang ginagawa ng mga bato na, or we call them grit, they aid in grinding ingested seeds and grain. Yun. Hindi, yung buksi ito. Yung buksi, yung crop na yun. Ayun. Ito na yung crop. Ito. So, from esophagus, tas may enlarged portion, yun yung crop o yung buksi. Tas yung chan, yung proventriculus, and yung baka balon-balonan na gizzard or the ventriculus. So, kapag in-open mo, makikita ka kayong bato-bato, they aid in breakdown of seeds. So, di ba matitigas yung kinakain nila? Wait lang. Bless me. So, ayun. Sa small intestine nila, halos same naman. Most of the enzymes found in mammalian species are present with the exception of lactase. So, the avian digestive system contains 2 blind pouches or the ceca, or as compared to mammals na isa lang yung blind pouch nila, which is called cecum. So the ceca and the large intestine are site for water resorption. And fiber digestion and water-soluble vitamin synthesis occurs because of the bacterial fermentation sa ceca. So, di ba nga yung mga non-ruminants, sa ceca sila, nagkakaroon ng bacterial infection. Bacterial fermentation. Dito na utilize yung kinakain nilang greens. So, cloaca, exit, the vent or anus, eliminates both urine and poop. At the same time, dito lumalabas yung egg ng manok. Then, nag-break na tayo. So, never mind that question. Patapos na tayo naman. So, the urinary system. So, the urinary system is its principal function is the extraction and removal of waste products from the blood. So, it consists of 2 kidneys, 2 ureters, and 1 bladder and a urethra. So, kidneys, most kidneys of domesticated animals are bean-shaped. Those are ruminants, lobulated, meaning parang madaming circle. So, they lie dorsal to the anterior portion of the abdominal cavity of the median plane and are slightly posterior to the liver. So, I hope familiar na kayo sa posterior, anterior, dorsal, ventral, lateral, medial. Pero don't worry, pag anatomy nyo, doon nyo talaga ma-memorize ng todo, ma-familiarize sarili ng todo. So right kidneys are generally more cranial than left one. So mas malapit sa head, except in pigs. So primary organ for urine formation ang kidneys. So ureters naman. Ureters are muscular tubes that conveys urine from the pelvis of the kidney to the bladder. So from kidney to the bladder, sila yung taga-connect. So they have 3 layers of tissues, a fibrous outer coat, a muscular layer, and an inner mucosa. So urinary bladder, hollow muscular organ that varies in size and position of the urine it contains. So kapag mag-i-x-ray tayo, isa sa mga obvious at saka sa ultrasound. Sa ultrasound, black yung bladder, black circle. Sa ano naman, since fluids are they absorb X-rays. They absorb a few X-rays. So, nagiging whitish siya. So, ito yung bladder. Since may fluid siya niyan sa loob. So, when you go to radiography, though hindi ganun ka-develop yung condition natin sa radiography, ma-appreciate naman konti pag i-discuss natin ito. Pag 5th year niya na. So, ayan. Kapag mag-X-ray, usually naman ito yung bladder. And, sayang, dapat naglagay ako ng problem sa bladder. Anyways, pag 5th year nyo, makikita nyo yung mga different problems sa bladder when we observe them using the X-rays. Paminsan yung fluid, kaysa nandito lang siya, kalat ng kalat yung fluid since nag-rupture yung bladder. So, ganyan. So, urethra, Urethra is a relatively long, usually curved common passageway for urine and semen in male, and a short, relatively straight and solely urinary function in the female. So ito yung urethra. So from the kidneys to the bladder, and ito testis, yung mga sperm from testis sa urethra din lalabas papunta sa penile area. So other terms, urine formation, it moves substance out of the blood and into the collection tubules where they mix the water and other waste products and converted into urine. So sa physiology nyo, you will discuss urine formation in depth, and sa board exam, it will be asked in depth then. So makakalito pa minsan yung tubules. Merong ascending, descending, may loop, pang ganyan. So try to memorize that in your third year, no, guys. So madaming portion of the boards is urine formation. So physio. So micturition is the term for urinating, expulsion of urine from the bladder. And the nephron is the functional unit of the kidney, smallest functional unit of the kidney. So next is the lymphatic system. Tapos na tayo, guys, don't worry. So the lymphatic system is a network of vessels through which lymph drains from the intestine into the blood. So blood usually ang lymphatic system. So the lymphatic system is intercalated in the course of lymph vessels. It is smooth, ovoid, pinkish bodies called lymph nodes. So along the lymph vessels, nagkakaroon tayo ng lymph nodes. So under the kilikili, yung tonsils natin is a lymph node around different areas of our body. So paminsan, kapag nagda-dissect tayo, lalo na sa slaughterhouse, paminsan makikita mong swollen yung mga lymph nodes. So that means merong infection around that area. So ano ba yung mga lymph nodes? So they are sources of antibodies, and they also produce lymphocytes. And ano ba yung lymph? So lymph is a clear to straw colored fluid carrying lymphocytes but no other cellular constituents. So lymph nodes gagawa ng lymphocytes, and yung lymph, siya yung mag-ahatid sa mga lymphocytes papunta sa different parts of the body. So function of the lymphatic system, it returns fluid to the bloodstream from the extracellular plate. Ano po ba yung namamaga pag may sugat? Like, usually yun yung inflamed area sa sugat mo. Since ang gagawin ng katawan pag inflammation, kaya nagkaka-inflammation, tinatry nilang i-contain yung wound site mo or yung site of infection to that area lang, sa inflamed area mo lang. So, kaya namamaga pa minsan yung mga sugat nyo. Nag-inflame, nagkakaroon ng inflammation. Tapos sa inflammation na yun, dun na ma-attract yung mga chemotactic factors na discuss natin kanina, and dun ma-attract yung mga WBCs, and dun na sila mag-try ng killing of the any bacteria that entered the skin, and dun na rin sa inflamed area, since na-debris na, nalinis na ng WBCs, dun na mag-act yung platelets kung na-wound man yan. So the lymphatic system's function is to return tissue fluid to the bloodstream from the extracellular spaces or the spaces outside of the cells, of course. So the lymphatic system also filters out phagocytized bacteria and other foreign materials. Since lymphocytes nga naman release nila. So it also helps maintain homeostasis and tissue health. Also produces antibodies and lymphocytes. And last, absorbs and transport fat from the intestine to the bloodstream. So yun yung function ng ating lymphatics. So ano ba yung mga organs na pwedeng magkaroon ng lymphatic function? So spleen, it is the largest lymphoid organ of the lymphatic system. Thymus, or organ that serves as a source of lymphocytes. And tonsils and Peyer's patches acts as regional lymph nodes sa intestine. Yung Peyer's patches, alam ko sa intestine siya nakikita. So, yan. Piles, end of coverage for the first long exam. So, tapos na. So, first long exam next week, Wednesday. Kaya? Wala kaming Thursday, Friday next week eh. So, Wednesday ang option natin. Yes? Yes, Miss Bautista?
May quiz din po ba sa Monday?
Yung Monday, yung ano lang, yung lecture 3. Hindi na natin pagki-quiz yung ano. So, coverage from first lecture 1 to lecture 5. Ito yung lecture 5. Yung mga label sa picture sa coverage. Yung mga sinabi kong di kasama, hindi. Ayun, sige, hindi ako maglalagay ng picture sa long exam. No? Pero sa quiz, isasama ko ha. Pagki-quiz pa lang natin yung Breeds of Animals sa Monday. And sa Wednesday, dun tayo maglalong exam. No? I think that's fair naman. Since long exam naman, madaming coverage, hindi ko nasasama yung pictures.
Sir, hindi na po niyan magko-quiz sa mga organ system po.
Hindi na siguro. Wala na tayong time eh.
Noted po. Thank you po.
So, assume, of course, na mas lahat ng questions sa Z-grade multiple choice. And lahat ng exam natin, unless may sasabihin ako, is Z-grade. So, yan. 100 items lagi, long exams natin. Lagi. Ano ba? Expect nyo na organs, systems, mas madami silang questions sa long exam since hindi natin sila pinag-quiz, no? So, any other questions? Hindi pa tayo tapos sa may last na to, lab naman, hindi na kasama sa pag-exam nyo, don't worry. Oh, valid daw. June 20, yeah, quiz. June 22, long exam. And you have more than a week to prepare for your long exam. So, parang yung quiz bonus nyo na lang habang rin-review yung board exam, pang long exam nyo. So, same time as our class times naman yung exams. So, any other? Oh, meron tayong lab activity this week. Nadi-discuss ko ngayon. May pasok po ba sa Wednesday? Kaya na-move yung exam natin, may high possibility na wala. Dahil sa accreditation. And parang may sinasabi silang something about holiday or what. Pero kami papasok daw kami kasi may something na accreditation. So, ayun. Kaya ako minove yung exam natin na instead of Wednesday, next week na lang siya dahil nga dun. So, wait for further announcement from PSAU kung may pasok kayo from your other teachers na lang, no? So, sa akin, Wednesday, di tayo mag-meet as well as Friday. Yes. Oh, any other questions? Huwag kayong mahiya. Wait lang ha. I think wala nang questions for that. So, tapos na tayo sa lecture part. Sa lab part naman tayo. Anong coverage ng long quiz? Sorry. Long exam, lecture 1 to 5. Hanggang yung last discussion natin ngayon, yung lymphatic system yung last. So from umpisa hanggang lymphatic system. Hindi kasama yung external anatomy ng farm animals sa lab yun. Tsaka nakalabel naman sa title na lab. So lecture 1 to 5. So wait lang. Share ko na yung last natin. Pasensya na. Minamaximize ko na time natin. So, again, good afternoon, everyone. We are now at our laboratory part of your subject. So, our topic for today is animal handling and restraint. So, after this discussion, papakita ko sa inyo yung exercise na kailangan yung gawin. So, restraint and handling. So, farm animals are kept by their owners for economic motive. Therefore, it becomes necessary to work with them and handle them for various purposes. So, animal restraint is the process of preventing an animal or group of animals from performing certain action or motion. So, this is usually done so that a practical procedure can be performed. So, ipaganda natin. So we usually restrain and handle animals for the following reasons. First is to be able to take the animals like horses and bulls to work. So through the use of a rope siguro or halter, namamanipulate natin kung saan natin gustong dalhin yung animal while handling them and saan natin gustong patrabauhin or by handling them, dun sila nagtatrabaho. So another reason why we restrain animals is to milk them. So, lalo na kapag agitated yung animal, kailangan meron kang barrier to protect you from the animal, from the kick of the animal in particular. So, to milk the animals like cows and buffaloes. Next is to control and restrain the animals for treatment, castration, breeding, and giving identification marks, etc. So, of course, you need, lalo na sa mga ruminants, actually, halos lahat ng mga farm animals, kapag di sila sanay talagang takot sila, tatakbuhan ka nila. So you need someone to restrain them properly para makapag-proceed ka sa anumang procedure yung gusto mong gawin. So sa castration, kung bake yan, of course, pwedeng two-man job. So hawakan ng isa yung baboy, tas ikaw yung mag-open up sa balls. Or sa treatment naman, hawakan ng kagroup mo halimbawa yung aso, tapos ikaw nag-administer ka ng treatment intravenously, ganon. So it also, restraining also aids in transporting the animals after purchase for sale or for shows and exhibitions. So there are I think three major types of restraint. So physiological, it is the least restrictive type, three types. It is the least restrictive type of restraint. So it is usually used in combination with other forms of restraint. So this involves using a soft voice while gently stroking the patient to calm and soothe them. So pakita mong hindi ka threat sa animal physically. So it is also important to remember that what matters is whether the animal finds an interaction threatening, not if ikaw yung sa tingin mong ginagawa mo hindi threatening sa animal. Possible na nilalambing mo yung animal or dinalapit mo yung kamay mo to treat them, pero nakikita ng animals nilalapit mo yung kamay mo para i-hurt sila. So it is important to remember na yung perception ng animal yung kino-consider natin when restraining them. So hindi ibig sabihin na good intention din yung nakikita ng animal na ginagawa mo. So often, in the process of trying to be friendly to an animal, we portray body signals that actually mean the opposite. So this is particularly true around horses and dogs. So physical restraint naman, this is the primary method of restraining an animal. So this involves using the handler's hands or body, along with ropes or other equipment. So alam ko pag-usapan natin isa-isa mga yan. So the chemical restraint naman, this method uses drugs such as sedatives, tranquilizers, and anesthesia to alter the patient's mental state. So this allows the patient to stay mobilized and be without pain. So of course, we anesthetize animals para kahit open up natin internal organs nila, yung pain receptor hindi nag-take effect. So factors affecting restraint. So the methods of handling the animals will be different for different animals. So different factors include the species, breed, sex, individuality, physiological status, age, familiarity, and the use of proper method. So factors affecting restraint, first is the species. So animals of different species have different temperament, different body size, and strength. So a horse is more active, large, and powerful as compared to a sheep, halimbawa. So the methods of their handling will be different. So of course, iba yung handling mo sa isang puppy, sa isang carabao, halimbawa. Mas madaming, mag-involve ka pa ng ropes and many people sa restrain ng carabao as compared sa puppy na possible na ikaw lang yung mag-restrain, kayang-kaya mo. So ito din, kung nakapag-experience na kayo ng restraining dogs and cats, nakapag-restrain na ba kayo ng dogs and cats? Sino nang nakapag-restrain? Meron na ba sa inyo? Ayan, Miss Bernardo. Sige, isasayin ko kayo nagtaas ng kamay. Ano mas madali? Dogs or cat?
Yung ano po, aso.
Hmm.
Yung pusa po kasi nangangalmot.
Ah?
Nangangalmot po yung pusa
Hmm.
namin.
Miss Piana. Piana ba? Yung nagtaas.
Opo.
Ano? Ano yung sayo?
Aso din po.
Bakit?
Kasi po parang mas, akala nila laro lang, pero di nila alam na nire-restrict. Pero kapag po pusa, feeling nila inaaway mo talaga sila.
Hmm. Yes, yes. Same sentiment. Mas gusto ko rin i-strain ng aso kaysa sa pusa. In all, kahit ngayon, ngayon magpapabakuna nga ng ano ngayon, na pusa niya, sabi ko hindi ko kaya hanggat wala pa akong isang kasamang vet na magre-restrain. I can't expect the owner to restrain the cats properly. Sa dogs, kung yung owner kilala ng aso, wala, di kanya kakagatin. No? Kung sa mga kung naka-experience nyo man. Sa cats, grabe. As in, lahat ng cases namin na nasugatan yung clinician dahil sa cat. Nakagat siya or nakalmot. Pati yung owner nakagat and nakalmot. So, nakadami na kami nakitang ganyan sa cats. Iba sa cats, mas flexible yung cats. Actually, ang pinakaano dito is, kaya nga sinabi ko, kailangan ko ng isang vet na magre-restrain para alam nilang hawakan properly. Kasi, mas flexible yung cat, mas madali sila mag-twist. Mas maabot ka nila. Yun yung naging ng kaklase namin. Nagre-restrain siya, hindi ganun ka tight yung paghawak niya sa animal. Nakapag-twist siya ng body and nakagat niya yung kamay nung nagre-restrain sa kanya. So, and ewan ko ba, yung pusa ko, ako na yung nag-restrain na nagpatulong ako sa vet na kaklase ko na siya na yung mag-inject. Ako na yung nagre-restrain. As in, aawayin ka ng pusa mo pa rin. Sin iba yung sound niya, parang inaaway ka talaga. As compared sa dog, ganyan lang yung hawak. Paminsan, ang pangit pa ng hawak ng owner, may injection mo pa rin yung dog. Pero sa cat, hirap. Anyways, may experience nyo rin yung fun na sinasabi ko sa iyo in the future. Don't worry. So, breed naman, animals of different breeds react differently as they have temperamental differences. So, a Cindy cattle will be very mild and docile. Na-discuss natin Cindy, di ba? Ano siya? Popular dairy cattle. So, to a killer cattle, which would be very nervous and vicious. So, the latter are to be handled with more caution. So, ito. Sino mas masungit sa dalawang breed na yan? Pero I don't know, di ako ganun ka-dog person. Yes, Miss Bingkang? Ano?
Chihuahua po.
Oo. Ay, sorry, tumalan yung pusa ko. Pabibo. Tapos, usually, lahat, yung siwawa. Yung siwawa na, ang intense nila, ang warprick. Nakadalawang owners na ako na chihuahua, yung alaga nila, ang warprick ng mga chihuahua nila. Oo. As in, tas yung isa kong kaklase, may chihuahua na nakik-apartment kami. Matapang pa sa owner. Siya pa yung nagbo-boss around sa owner. Pero I don't know. I'm not... ayun, si Bingkang daw may madaming siwawa. Ako, hindi ako ganun ka-dog person, unfortunately. So, ayun. I don't have much experience with them. Pero, based from the pets of my friends, ang ano nila, ang warprick. Totoo man. Pero anyways, yung mga Shih Tzu, kahit di ka nila kilala, lalapitan ka nila, papanakaw pa sila mismo sa'yo eh. Diba? So, and anyways, factor affecting restraint, another factor is sex. So, sex difference is found to govern the temperament of animals. So, a breeding male may be more temperamental and vicious than respective female due to baka territorial instinct nila. So, they should be restrained better. So, individuality naman, certain individuals may be more or less temperamental than others. So, tayo, some of us, madaling mabad trip, madaling mapikon, while some of us, kinikim-kim ang galit. And sa huli gagante na matiga, na mas Mas malala. So, ako, I hold grudges. So, hindi ako agad galit. Kinikimkim ko hanggang makulamin ko kayo, ganon. So, while handling the animals, the temperament of the individual animal may be assessed from the behavior of the animals and also from the past experiences. So, yung owner naman, paminsan sasabihin sa inyo, ay, hindi po nangangagat yan. Maraming ganon naman. So, ikaw, nasa iyo na kung papaniwalaan mo yung owner. Hindi nangangagat, tapos dinapa ka ng todong-todo, dumugo ka, hanggang mamatay ka. Anyways, something like that. So physiological status naman, female animals in heat or soon after calving are more nervous and excitable. The same animals after about mid-pregnancy develop mild docile temperament. Golden, no, mabait sila. Napansin ko nga. Wait lang ha. Grabe. Naisipang maglinis ng, wait lang. Ay, ano pa? I'm not sure sa mga ano. Pero ito, kinakagat na ako at nakikita niyo. Bastos. So, kanina pa ito nag-iingay. Pabibo. So, anyways. Ayan. So, ayan. Paminsan naman yung mga malapit na mga anak, sila yung nervous since, yun nga, they can feel a lot of pain than usual. So, pero after naman ng anak, chill na sila. So age, in some cases, animals which are adult can be handled easily. And paminsan vice versa to. Paminsan yung mga baby animals, sila pa yung mas madaling hawakan as compared sa mga adults. Especially kapag yung mga adult animals, sila, especially dogs, yung mga laging caged or leashed, tas hindi pinapalabas talaga or hindi man ganong nakikipag-interact yung owner. Usually, yung mga owner na yun, yung sinasabing takot sila sa aso nila kapag pinapabakuna. Ayaw nila talaga hawakan kahit aso nila. Though, usually naman, kapag alaga mo yung aso, lalo na aso ha, kapag binabakunahan sila, kapag yung owner yung may hawak, walang yung aso. Very, very low chances nakakagatin niya yung owner niya. Though I don't know sa inyo, baka may na-experience na kayo yung nakagat yung owner habang nagbabakuna kayo. So, I don't know kailan yung next extension activities ng VetMed. Pero, since wala pang face-to-face, malabo pa to. Pero kapag extension activities nga, we go to different barrios and we vaccinate dogs and cats. Kapag vaccinate din kami ng monkeys that time. So, wait lang. Yung aso po ng pisa ko wala pakiram sa kanila, matapang pa rin po. Ayun yung nasa individuality na ng animal. So, yun daw isa, owner, matapang yung aso kahit yung owners na yung nakahawak. So, nasa individuality na ng animal na yun. So, familiarity naman, with familiar persons and in familiar surroundings, animals may be handled relatively easy. So, this very much depends upon the degree of previous handling and the habits of the animals. So, some animals, yung mga lagi nyo dinadala sa vet, hindi na sila ganong takot, no? Though that can also be, pwede rin may negative silang memory sa vet. So, nung dati kami, first time niya sa vet clinic sa PSAU, for vaccination lang naman. Pero siguro since past clinics niya, takot, na-injection siya ng masakit, nakita pa lang niya talaga yung karayom, umiyak yung aso. So, I guess, nagkaroon siya ng bad key memory sa clinic na yon na na-associate niya sa clinic na iba or sa injection itself. So, ayan. So, use of proper method. If undue fear, pain, discomfort, or excitement are caused to animals while handling, they get unruly and wild. So rough, noisy treatments to a freshly calved heifer is an example of improper handling. So nasa iyo din, baka mali naman pala talaga ginagawa mo kaya nagganon yung reaction ng animal sa'yo. So observe your animal as you do your procedures. So we have different methods of restraints. One, I think this is very popular, particularly among dogs, muzzles. Muzzles are used to prevent cattle, horses, dogs, etc. from eating their beddings or biting you, calves suckling their mother, or bullocks eating grasses while interculturing. So there are two types of muzzles, wire muzzle or core muzzle, and the leatherbox muzzle. So based from their names, yun yung sources, made from leather, made of wire. Next is the bull nose ring. So they are used for restraining powerful bulls. They are generally made in semicircular pieces joined together. So they are made from non-rusting metals like steel, aluminum, and brass. So ako dati kala ko ano lang to, hindi sila talagang nakapaikot. Ngayon pala talagang binutas pala talaga yung ilong. So bull rings are installed when young pa yung animal, and usually, though sa baryo malabo to, conducted by veterinarian who administers local anesthetic in the nose before punching a hole, then threading the ring through and stopping it shut. So ako di ko pa nakitang ginagawa actual to, pero ayun, 8 months of age, bubatasan yung ilong and isasara yung circle, yung ring. So ang dahilan nito is sensitive nun yung area ng ilong na to. So if pupull mo ng konti, pupunta na sa direction kung saan mo ginagamit. Ginagamit din daw yung muzzles kapag pinapastad yung mga dogs nila. So di ko pa yung mga few stud services na nakikita ko, hindi sila nagmamazzles, pero siguro for the safety of both dogs and the owners, mas okay na nga naman magmuzzle na yung mga gumamit na yung muzzles yung mga owners sa mga dogs nila. So this is an extension of the bull ring. Bull leader is a long stick with sliding hook at one end and used to control the bull from close distance when applied on the bull nose ring. So para lang mas mahaba yung reach mo sa bull ring. Next is the mouth gag. So I can't find an appropriate picture, a good picture of a mouth gag in ruminants. Pero with the gag itself, it prevents yung pagsara ng jaw. So I think ito yung drinking pattern mouth gag is suitable for cattle. I can't find a good picture during that time na nag-search ako. Ewan ko sa inyo kung may ma-search kayo. Pero if you can imagine, papasok itong dalawang to sa mouth para mag-stay siyang open. So ano yung benefits ng ganon? So when naka-open yung mouth, we can observe the teeth, we can observe the gums. Pwede tayong magpasok ng tube para ma-view yung mag-perform tayo ng endoscopy, ma-view natin yung loob ng GIT ng animal. So madaming purposes naman. Or also para mag-administer tayo ng oral drugs na madami yung volume. Since naka-open yung mouth, walang choice, lulunok na lang siya ng lulunok ng binibigay mo. Of course, don't overdo it. So restraints naman, we call this structure travis or crush. So these are made of hard seasoned wood or metal tubing to restrain animals in a standing position. So travis or crush. So possible ito for the physical examination, para easier yung physical examination, di galaw-galaw. And paminsan, I think pwede to for stunning, for killing the animal. Yes, nandiyan yung ulo, barilin mo yung ulo. So next, halter. Halters are made up of leather. So, but for farm animals, a simple rope can be used. So usually sa kabayo to, no? So halters are used to help reduce the problem of horse galloping away from their handlers during transportation. So hinahawakan mo yung halter para hindi sila lumayo sa'yo to and from the stable. So keeping hold of the halter. So hinahawakan mo around this area. And therefore controlling the horse's head is the best way to guide the horse without hurting them. So ito, twitch naman. So twitch consists of a piece of stout wood and 1 meter long, about 1 meter long, carrying a hole at one end. So a loop of piece of rope is inserted through its hole. For applying a twitch, the horse should be haltered and held by an assistant. Paano ba to? So the rope is applied on the muzzle, so around the mouth area. with the left hand, ano, depende sa hand, the dominant hand mo, while holding the stick with the right hand. So after adequate grip, dun mo ilagay yung twitch. So ganyan. So nakikita nyo, no? So the horse twitch is attached to the soft, sensitive upper lip. As a result of the intense pain the twitch initially creates, since sensitive yung upper lip, pag pag squeeze mong ganyan through the twitch, magkakaroon ng pain. Pero after that, the brain will release a surge of endorphins, which acts as a natural painkiller and puts your horse in a euphoric state. So that's one way of restraining the animal using the twitch. Di pa namin nagawa to since walang kabayo sa. Kayo guys, meron na bang experience sa horses? Sa sea merong isa. Pero sa inyo, meron ba? Mukhang wala. So, kung meron man sa inyo in the future, share naman ng experience nyo. So, twitches vary for a variety of situations, including first aid treatment, sheet cleaning, clippings, small medical procedures, and physical examinations. So, I think this is the last time. So, ano lang, ang dami namin pictures, ay dami naming na-handle na animal. Naghanap talaga ako, nagkalkal ako sa Facebook pages, Facebook accounts ng mga klase ko. Wala kaming gin-upload na na-handle namin sila. So kayo guys, pag ma-handle na kayo, take every opportunity you can for documentation. So ito yung si Doc Jola, si Doc Maeve. This is when we went to El Caballo sa Clark. So nag-trip kami doon, of course, back riding, tinuruan kami maglagay ng halter. Ano pa ba? Yun lang. So this, I think nasan ko na yung video. Hindi, ito deworming to, hindi blood collection to. Sige, naubusan daw ng data yung sa inyong kaklase. So ito, deworming. So ideally, dalawa kayo, isang tagahawak. Ako yan dati. So kami, paminsan hawakan horns. Tapos, ito, alam ko kumuha sila ng blood dito. Yung kaklase ko. Tapos ito, anesthetize na to sa mata pa lang niya. So ito yung usually yung mukha ng mga pasyente niya, lalo ng mga pusa pag nag-anesthetize na kayo. Ganito sila. Nakabla sila. So maganda, bigyan mo ng atropine para hindi sila maglaway. And may possibility yung laway na yan pumunta sa sa lungs, which can cause asphyxiation pneumonia. So that's the end of it. And wait lang, there's more. May injection at may injection. Wait lang. Last na to guys. I can't promise pero I think this is the last. So this is your template for your next laboratory exercise. So may nagmanok na ba labas? May nagmanok na ba sa inyo? I haven't checked your exercises. Sorry. Meron na bang nagmanok sa inyo? Or nagbabalak this week? Since madami tayong pwede nyo gamitin yung mga days natin na walang class to do your chicken dissection na. Since para hindi kayo nauubusan ng time during the exam review stage, baka mahirapan kayo. So, as we talk about animal restraint, so preventing an animal or group of animals from action or motion. For example, stopping an animal from escaping or attacking you. So an animal may require restraint for examination, treatment, milking. So it can be achieved by moral persuasion, by physical force, or by chemical means. So physical control or restraint may be essential in some situations. For example, restraining can prevent worsening of an incident, especially if human life or safety is involved. Yung nangahabol na halimbawa yung aso mo, so kailangan mo siyang i-restrain. So, pwedeng gawin mo, sorry, kiniscratch na ng pusa ko yung, so to enable an entrapped animal to be released, to remove the animal from a place of danger to a place of safety, and to prevent injury or to emergency responders, and also to administer first aid to the animal. So you need to restrain them first for this to happen. So before attempting to physically gain control or restraint of an animal, the activity should be risk assessed, including the following. So alamin mo yung species, size, and especially behavior ng animal. Alamin mo kung mas madali ba siyang, mas more likely ba siyang suguring ka, kagating ka. So the impact of the animal in terms of potential injury or distress, the environment, and the resources and equipment available. So always kapag mag-handle kayo, especially ng potentially, wait lang guys, ilabas ko na muna yung pusa ko. Wait lang guys. Ano ba lang menu? Sorry. So, kapag magre-restrain kayo, halimbawa ng dog, or kapag farm yung horses or cattle, always, before kayo pumasok sa pen, alamin nyo lahat, ano yung possible exit point nyo, escape route nyo, kapag nagwala yung animal. Always consider that. So, instruction, same as the first laboratory exercise. Shh. No need to send me proof na nakapag-upload na kayo. Don't worry. Okay na. Check ko na lang, hindi ko rin naman na-check on time. So, titignan ko na lang yung date modified sa yung submissions. So, same make it a PDF form and gagawa ko ng drive link mamaya. So, deadline nito is sige, Saturday 11:59 AM. No? So give 2 restraint methods for controlling bulls. So give a brief description on the said methods. Pwede rin maglagay ko ng pictures para mas ma-appreciate nyo and ko yung chine-check. So in your opinion, which among the following animals is more difficult to handle? A pregnant cat na malapit ng manganak, a stallion na increased yung libido niya or in a rat, or a scared puppy trapped in a corner. So, which among these three do you think, in your opinion, is more difficult to handle? No? So, next, give one example of a restraint procedure that was not discussed in this presentation kanina. And explain how the procedure works. So please, kung kaya nyo maglagay ng picture, mas maganda. So give one example. One lang naman. Again, not discussed. So kung nag-pass kayo ng na-discuss na, is-zero ko kayo dito. No? So please read every question. Especially sa future natin. Sa future topics. May iba, sana wala nang hindi nakasunod sa instructions sa next topics natin. So, have you ever handled an agitated animal? If so, how did you make it calm down? So, in case naman na hindi ka pa nakahandle ng hayop, hypothetically, how will you manage an agitated animal? So, hypothetically, kung sakaling wala pa kayo ng handle talaga. And lastly, justify why restraining bulls is more difficult than restraining cows. So, any question regarding this lab exercise? Same instruction naman, you can use any reference you can find. Ang ayaw ko lang, pareho kayo ng sagot ng kasama nyo. In a sense na kopyang-kopya pati period. 11:59 AM Saturday. Wala akong June 24. Wala ng instructor nyo sa June 24 sa VetMed. Team building namin. Hindi ako makakapag-administer ng exam sa June 24. June 25, wala din ako. Wala din ako starting June 17 hanggang weekends. So busy ako. Sorry. Di pwedeng June 24, sorry. Again, same instructions as last time. If natatandaan yung instructions as last time, if you used a reference, which you will most likely use a reference for these questions, put the link of your reference or yung book, lagay niyo yung title, sinong author, anong page, sa ilalim ng sagot niyo. No? Ideally, mas maaga nyo nang kunin yung long exam. Kasi kapag pinatagal natin yung long exam nyo, nagdi-discuss na ako ng topics for second long and third long, hindi pa kayo nagpa-first long. Ma-overwhelm kayo. I'm telling you, ma-overwhelm kayo sa sa information. Promise. Tsaka, makukulangan ako ng time kasi ako consider kung mag-long exam kayo. Hindi ako magbibigay ng quiz before the long exam na hindi sakop ng first long. So, mahirapan ako, guys. So, try nyo na next week, Wednesday. And usually, di naman mahirap AS100, guys. I think. So, siguro na nabigla lang kayo sa first long, ay sa first quiz yung iba. Pero may idea na kayo paano ko magbigay ng questions, di ba? Meron naman, di ba? Di naman random yung questions ko. So, sometimes you have to analyze, pero most of the time, giveaway yung mga tanong. So, I think I'll be stopping this. So, please include your references. Madami sa mga tanong na to, kailangan nyo talaga mag-search. For example, this question. So, blah, 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 reference. So, ayoko lang talaga makita na yung sagot mo, sagot din niya. Like word for word. So I encourage you to paraphrase. So June 18, ano daw? Wait lang. Ano? June 18 yung deadline ng lab. Instead of Friday. Wait lang. Tignan ko nga yung Stop share natin. Wait lang. Tignan ko yung next lab nyo. Kung anong gagawin. Exercise 3. So lab. Naghang pa. So lab exercise 3 will be for checking the vital signs of fur animals. So hindi ganoon kahirap 'yon. Just an hour for that, tapos masasagot niyo na yung lab exam, lab quiz, lab exercise na yun. So madali lang yan. So I think yun na. May questions pa ba para wala naman tayong na-miss para maklarify na lahat? Go lang, madami pa tayong time. So again, based from the so hindi tayo mag-meet next Wednesday and Friday, sa Wednesday and Friday. So our next meeting will be on Monday, which we will have a quiz on lecture 3, different breeds of animals, around 35. Hindi siya 25 for sure. 35 sigurong items with pictures. So Monday, June 20, 2022, quiz on different breeds of farm animals, followed by on Wednesday, June 22, 2022, mag-first long exam na tayo. So scope naman nito is lecture AS100 lecture 1 to 5 yung titles ng mga nasa drive link naman sila, and di kayo malilito kasi lecture yung naka-title. So iba yung sa lab. And last, deadline for this laboratory exercise that I have shown you, Saturday, June 18, 11:59 a.m. So bago mag-12 noon, I am expecting your answers. I think you can finish it now na. During our time, madali siya. Madali naman siya sagutan. And most likely, half of those questions are opinion-based. And as long as kaya mong i-justify yung opinion mo, and then since minove ko siyang Saturday, morning na lang yung deadline. So, ayun. Any other concerns, questions? Doc, 1 p.m. po. Yes. So, after the quiz and exam, tuloy natin yung discussions, no, guys? Next week, no? So, wala tayong time, sorry. So, since less 1.5 month na lang tayo, so, kinda natin. Pagkasya na natin lahat ng lessons. So, na-overwhelm na ba agad kayo? Na-overwhelm ba kayo sa mga topics this time? kung isipin nyo ba, next week, ang dami ko re-review. Sa inyo, honest opinion, overwhelming na ba topics natin?
Yes, sir.
So, ano ba? Titingnan ko lang. Yan, unfortunately, I can't extend the time for you to review this. Though I think more than 1 week is plenty since di naman tayo mag-meet ng 3 days ay this week. So, I'm sorry ha, for this for this exam, hindi pwede. Wait la, pakita ko yung coverage ng slides for a second. So, wait la, bigyan ko yung idea. So, hindi pa to ini-edit ko pa yung, so, lecture 6 will be, this is second long coverage. So, lecture 6 will be, madami siya. I'm telling you, madami yung systems. Ay, hindi, madami yung hormones na may memorize natin sa lecture 6. Lecture 7, special senses kind of easy. Sa lecture 6, pagtatopic pa natin yung mammary system at saka yung may isa pa. Reproductive. Madaming slides yung reproductive, guys. So if na-delay pa tayo further, mas mabilis yung discussion natin in succeeding days. So I don't want that naman. Gusto ko pa rin may break tayong konti. So though I don't think nafe-feel yung magbe-break tayo dahil sa pinapagawa ko, pero hindi siya kung take time to read the yung first lesson nyo sa first long coverage nyo, very easy siya. Kung titignan nyo. Hindi pa ako tapos sa dito. Wait lang. So, share ko. So, ito yung coverage ng sa mga 1C dati. So, mapapansin nyo, madami silang slides. Ang lang dito, ito, 6, inalis ko yung 7 kasi linipat ko na sa 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. These are PowerPoint presentation made by the nag-OJT, yung mga nag-OJTing higher years nyo, yung mga graduating nyo na. So, ang ginagawa ko ngayon, minomodify ko sila to make them my own presentation, and nag-input ako ng data. Kaya mapapansin nyo, may 9.1, may 9.2 kasi nagdagdag ako ng supplemental info since sobrang content nito. So, wait lang. So, ito yung coverage ng second long. So, included sa second long, kung makikita yung syllabus nyo, the different housing of animals, and within those, I think mahihirapan kayo ng konti, pinibigyan ko na ng warning, sa mga length, sa mga sizes of animals, floor space requirements. Numbers sila. Doon kayo, I think, mahihirapan ng konti. Though I can't remove them because tinatanong sila sa boards, and ayoko rin naman na giveaway yung exam nyo, tapos pagdating nyo ng proper years, mabigla kayo ng todo sa fast-paced lessons nyo doon. So this is kind of a training sa inyo. Though again, wala ako sa kalingkingan ng questions ng mga higher years na profs nyo. So ito, systems, body heat, regulation, kung most likely yung iba application lang, understanding the process. So hindi siya kung gets mo na yung process kahit hindi mo gaano i-memorize yung iba. Though sa endocrine system, which we will talk about next week, madami kang kailangan i-consider. Pero unless na-appreciate mo yung yung processes on how hormones are released to the body, doon hindi ka mahirapan. Ako di ako nahihirapan sa hormones kasi gusto ko yung process na kapag kulang to, lalabas tong ganitong hormones sa katawan. So I don't know sa inyo, pero next ito housings mga to, and nutrition. Next, ito, nabawasan. I think aalisin ko yung isa dito. Kasi breeding and genetics lang to. So if familiar na kayo sa mga allele, phenotype, genotype sa Punnett square, relatively easy na to. Lecture 10. And crossbreeding. And crossbreeding, very basic. Inbreeding, pure breeding, outbreeding, line breeding, ganun lang. Tatanong ko lang kung ganitong animal yung bibreed mo sa ganitong animal, anong tawag sa breeding na yan, ganito, something like that. So, para may idea kayo, next, last. Madami silang, guys, madaming slides. Nabigla din ako sa mamaya, sige. Pakita ko na yung reviewer na sinasabi kong re-review namin for boards, kung interested kayo. Papamana ko sa inyo to after ng AS100 natin. So third long, hindi ko na sinama yung meat products since na naubos na kami ng time. And I don't think I will include meat products kasi itong mga to, diseases na. Mga common diseases of farm animal, hindi lang farm, domesticated animals. Ito, bacterial diseases, viral diseases, DNA disease, RNA diseases. Ito naman, nutritional diseases. I think enough na to para sa inyo. So ito introduction ng to those diseases. So ayun. So hindi ko afford na, sorry as much as ayoko kayong mahirapan, hindi ko rin afford na i-delay natin yung discussions kasi malapit na yung deadline, palapit yung deadline of grades nyo, palapit matapos yung SEM natin. And ayoko rin naman na siksik masyado during the latter, sa patapos na yung July, doon tayo naghahabol ng lessons. No? Sorry ha. So, ayun. Wait lang. Hanapin ko yung sinasabi ko sa inyo. Masaya siyang i-review. Wait lang. Stop ko to.